What's up, man? What's going on? Welcome. We are here at another episode of Hope. I hope everybody's had a good week this week. We are in, we got a great class tonight, so you guys are in store for a lot of dopeness, a lot of realness. Hopefully, some of the ideas and concepts that you may have heard already is brought to you a different way, in a way that allows you to absorb it a little bit better, or for you to get it. A lot of these concepts that we're going to be talking about aren't brand new to you, or you may have heard them before, but the idea is not for you to know them, it's for you to get it so that you can make the changes you need in your life and in your business. So I'm excited. This is more getting into the meat of the class. Last week was a precursor. It was a setup for chapter 1. We're going to be speaking out of chapter 1 again in the emotional agility book, but we're going to go a little bit deeper. So sit back, relax, put your seatbelt on, enjoy this ride. We're going to get it. So class is called a doom loop, and let's hit this first slide.
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Hope there are sharks in your water.
Hope was the title, right?
I was like, wow, that's quite the affirmation.
But there are sharks in your water. There are sharks in your water. What does this mean? There are sharks in your water. Hope is an entrepreneurial class, correct? We're teaching entrepreneurship, right? So we always are going to speak from a vantage point, entrepreneurship, not any other vantage point. If you want other vantage points, there's classes down the hall. We always say that. There's other classes down the hall. But the entrepreneur vantage point is the vantage point that we speak from, right? So they say that there's a saying that to a man with the hammer, every problem is a nail, right? Well, in this class, the nail in the hammer is entrepreneurship and tools for entrepreneurship. We don't speak on any other vantage point. So I say that to say, once you step into this entrepreneurship world, the moment you stick your toe in, your foot in, don't ever for a second think this shit is sweet. You are swimming immediately in an ocean where there's sharks. So it ain't like, oh yeah, this is so fun. Oh, I haven't seen these sharks in a long time. Oh, look, I'm just gonna I'm gonna slow down. I'm gonna do what I want to do. No. As long as you know that there are sharks in the water, you can act accordingly. Doesn't mean that you move from a place of fear or defense. Just know that there's sharks in your water. Meaning whatever product, idea, service, anything that you want to sell, know that at every level of business, there are people and businesses already there that don't want you there. They don't want you there. And there's no new humans that will be born the minute you get into a market, which means the moment you come in the market, you have to take customers from somebody else in order for you to build your business. This isn't social justice. This isn't fairness. It's none of that. You know that you took food off of somebody's plate the minute you got a customer. And that's what business is. And the more customers you get in a particular demographic, there's a good chance that they may choose you over someone else in that space. And that's how the game goes. So, of course, there's sharks in the water. Of course, there's going to be businesses and things that are looking to copy from you, to steal ideas from you, to take you out. That's just the game. It ain't going. That's just the game. And the minute you get comfortable with that, then you could probably grow and get better. But a lot of times we transition from work, and at work, if there is a complaint or an issue, or you and someone got into it, or something happened unfairly at work, you guys can both go to HR, right? And HR will settle it for you. And if it was grossly unfair, you probably could sue them and get some money. That's the way the game works on that side of the plane. That's not our world. Our world is sharks in your water, meaning there's competitors out there at every level. And our job is to know that they're sharks so that we have the tools to act accordingly. We know what to do. We're not surprised. We're not surprised. I found a whole about 4 or 5 days ago. I found a whole Instagram page. Stole the logo you got that Pyro Media did for us. Copied uniforms, designs, everything. Just living their best life. A customer sent this to me. Have you seen this? Is this you? No. So on every post, motherfucker, you better take this bullshit down, motherfucker. Don't you ever? Every post, I motherfuckered them all the way, every single post. Reported, called my lawyers, did what we had to do. They're like, I thought Court Smith was a little more professional than that. No. I don't know how much money. I don't know how much money they had been making or customers they got, anything. Sharks in the waters. It's so, and it's, damn, that was good. Damn, that was good. What could we do to protect? What could we do next time to protect? How is our trademarks? How is our patents? How is all of those things shored up? What can we do? There's sharks in the water. So this first slide comes from conversations that I've had with folks, and I think it was 3 different times where the limitation or the blind spot of the person boiled down to most of the time of just them being a bit oblivious to the fact that I'm just going to start a business and everybody's going to be happy for me and move out my way and allow me to make the money I want to make, and no haters, nobody's going to not like me, dislike me. Like, what? All right, hold on. Do you know that the minute you step your toe in these waters is sharks? Straight up. Not even before you get in the water. Have you ever seen a mama turtle give birth to baby turtles? She gives birth on the beach. And as she's giving birth, as she's giving birth to her babies, guess who's flying above her? Seagulls and birds. And those baby turtles have to reach. They have, as long as they get in the water, they're safe. So those baby turtles are born with wheels. And as soon as they're born, they are racing to get in the ocean. Because if not, and you see the birds trying to make a beeline to these baby turtles, brand new, and some of them only been alive for 30 seconds and they got eaten. It's a cold game. That's the way the game goes. And while others finally make it, as soon as they make it, they're swimming, they're good. And that turtle will live to 100 and something, 115 years. It just has to make it from the beach to the water. So this is as close to the wild as we get. Sharks in it.
So when you were making the comment about somebody ripping all your stuff, at what point do you get into like an offensive mindset? Like I remember when I was talking to class maybe like a year or two ago. My best friend's a trademark lawyer. And I was like, okay, well, I've had Pinpoint for like 11, 12 years at that point. Should I be trademarking? And the feedback that I got was that you got to build something like with enough like stamina and growth where it's worth the energy. At what point do you like switch to like offensive instead of defensive because like you lose time and attention to, like going down that rabbit hole? Like, how do you know where your energy should be spent?
Well, it's time, right? And what is your brand? You take a company like Supreme, right? Supreme, I don't think Supreme knew that they was going to blow up as big as they did. So they got the trademark for the U.S., for the name Supreme, for their brand. Supreme ended up being a $1 billion brand. Guess what the Sharks did? They got trademarks in all the other countries except the U.S. and start opening up Supreme stores and selling Supreme products. So Supreme eventually got lawyers big enough to mitigate all that, and they ended up resolving it and forcing those companies to close down because they had first use. That was their leverage, first use, and the amount of money generated from first use. But yeah, getting a trademark is not a lot of work. It's hardly any work at all, even if you do it yourself. But especially if you get a lawyer to do it, it's under $1,000. So, but it all depends on your brand. If you're still figuring out your brand, you don't know who you are yet, or you have an established brand, or you don't have no momentum, then maybe it's not a good idea. But it also can be you can look at it like it's getting a domain and protecting. It all depends. I think that's the real answer. It all depends. It's not it's not a real time intensive thing. There's other people who they'll start a business and they want to trademark and everything before they even get started. And they spend all this money, time, energy on lawyers and trademarks and patents, and their business is trash. They ain't even worth trademarking yet. So there's a lot of gray areas in that. But there's sharks, and there's a lot of things that aren't patentable, trademarkable. You can't trademark a design. You can't trademark a style. You could trademark your name or your logo. So you can patent something that's novel, which means it's a new system or process of doing certain things, but it has to be novel. If it's not, then it's not. So, but aside from the trademark part, that's one small element. It's the world you're moving into. You have to know there's sharks there, and it doesn't mean that you have to cower or be afraid, but you have to move with that energy. Clear on that? All right, let's start. Chapter 1. So we're going to dive deeper into chapter 1 this week, and just double down on some of the concepts that we skimmed over last week. All right, so let's go.
Emotions from blinding rage to wide-eyed love are the body's immediate physical responses to important signals from the outside world. When our senses pick up information, signs of danger, hints of romantic interest, cues that we're being accepted or excluded by our peers, we physically adjust to these incoming messages.
Okay. This first one is complex at certain levels of understanding. So, and the reason being is because if you are your observer, if you are the observer, then at that point, you can start observing your emotions. You can separate yourselves from your emotions. Right now, a lot of times we think we are our emotions. So I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm happy. I'm horny. I'm whatever. You are not those things. You are feeling those emotions. That's a great distinction because it's gonna benefit you later down the road when you want to be able to control those emotions. If you're in the micro of your emotions, it's very hard to steer yourself. But when you realize, oh, I'm the observer, I'm feeling this emotion. Have something ever happened to you and you were okay, but just a tear just start rolling down by itself? Has that ever happened? Just a tear. It's a rogue tear, like you was trying to do your thing, but it decided it wanted to just come out. That's the difference between the observer and the emotion. The observer saying, I'm cool, but it was a stimulus that hit you, that hit just the right note of that emotion that allowed your body to respond. Oh shit. I wasn't trying to do that. Or you ever seen somebody give a speech and they said, they're giving the speech and they get to a part where it's a touching part to them or to someone else, and they start lip quivering and they say, I told myself I wasn't going to cry. I told myself I wasn't going to cry. So what you're saying is you had to talk with yourself and you say, hey, when we get to this part here, don't be no bitch. I know you're going to want to cry, but we're not doing it because we're doing it in front of a lot of people. But your emotions, when the stimulus hit that part of you, your emotion said, fuck you, like this is my cue. Yeah. Because the observer and the emotions. So all emotions are just storms in your brain that get a response from you. And we think it's voluntarily because it's part of who we are, but it's really involuntary. It's like when you sit at the doctor's office and you're sitting up on that bed and he pokes right up below your knee and the knee kicks. Not much you could do about it. The knee just kicks. That's what's happening to our emotions, but different ranges of emotions, anger, sadness, happiness, all the ranges, but that's what's happening. And what we're saying is, and not just us, what the book is saying is that there's a strategy where you can learn how to not kick. There's strategies where you can learn to hold your ground in situations where you want to, where you need to, where it's imperative for you to. Next slide.
Rigidity may come from the perfectly normal habit of taking mental shortcuts and accepting presumptions and rules of thumb that may have served you once in childhood, in a first marriage, at an earlier point in your career, but aren't serving you now. People can't be trusted. I'm going to get hurt.
Okay, so we're not going to say that the brain is lazy, but it can seem lazy because the brain is always looking for the shortest route to certain outcomes, always taking shortcuts. And so it can take shortcuts in the form of, I seen this 3 times, so we're going to call this truth. We're going to call it truth. So from now on, I don't care how many times it happens. Every time this happens, I'm doing this because I ain't trying to think no more. I don't want to think about what to do in this situation. I saw it 3 times, boom. Most of the times, a lot of humans just do it after seeing it once. But I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and say 3. So the brain is always looking for that. Always, always, always looking for opportunities to take mental shortcuts, and they'll call it a heuristic, call it a belief. This is truth now. This is fact. Because I need my resources. want to have to spend system 2 resources on this same thing every time. No matter how complex it is, if there's enough of a data collection and enough of a pattern, then the brain will take mental shortcuts. You guys do it now. Like, have you ever driven somewhere, or like somewhere that you drive all the time, like from work to home, and you didn't even think, you forgot how you even got there? You don't even remember the details of getting from point A to point B because your brain just automatically knows exactly what to do, where to turn. The other way of understanding is, have anybody asked you have you ever had to give somebody directions to a place you go every day and you didn't even know the street names? You go to, like, right where that store is, where the red door is, and then you make a left with the dope fiend across the street, and then you go down about half a minute and you make a right, like you don't even know the streets, and you've been there all the time because your brain don't want to read the streets. Your brain don't care. It just knows how to get there, and it will shorten itself as much as it can because it doesn't like to waste any energy. The brain doesn't like to waste. Remember, the universe abhors a vacuum. Remember that quote. The universe abhors a vacuum, which means it don't waste no space. When typically, if you were to die, then there's trees and grass and worms and all kind of stuff that's going to be benefiting from you. You're going to dissolve back into the earth. Because the universe and the earth is built to recycle itself. No waste. Even as we evolve as humans, there's certain parts of our bodies that will if over time, thousands of years, we won't need them no more. Because the human body, the mind, the spirit doesn't like to waste anything. So that's how the brain operates when it makes presuppositions, it makes presumptions, and it makes quick rules of thumb. The problem is that it isn't always correct. That's the problem. It's not always right. So then what? How do you know when to use it and when not to? That's why the observer part of you has to be managing that emotional part of you. It has to manage it. If not, if you just let it run wild, it's like letting your 12-year-old run the house by itself. And you calling to check in, like, oh, whatever he did is fine. So that's what's going on in our brain. I was watching something today from a scientist, and he was saying that the average human being, no matter how old they are between 8 and 12 years old. Mentally, emotionally, psychologically. The average human being, no matter the age, between 8 and 12. So if that is true, the observer in you has to have tools to manage it. And it also comes with rules of thumb. And those rules of thumb can be cold on you if they're wrong. So say you had a rule of thumb that I don't like doing business with black people. Say you had that as a rule of thumb. And you had how many references? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 instances to back that up. Yeah, so you had 10 instances to back that up. So now that becomes your belief. See, that's why I don't do business with black folks. I told you. I was talking to a brother, someone this morning at the gym, and he was like, that's why I stopped dating black women. What? What happened? You know, I got put on child support.
That's a hell of a jump. That is a hell of a jump. Wow.
I'm like, damn,
That's a hell of a jump.
crazy.
It's crazy.
You see what I'm saying? Hey, more for us. But you see what I'm saying? How you can come up with a heuristic from a pain like that. It happens to all of us. Come up with a rule of thumb, then I don't have to think about it no more. I don't have to think about it. I can move on with life. That's my rule. Bang, we can keep moving. That's how a lot of us move in this world, with heuristics like that, with beliefs like that are just as silly. Next slide.
Do you
Oh, go ahead.
Do you find it easier or more challenging to deal with this at work or at home? Or is it just depends on what's going on? Like where is it, what part of running Courtsmith or being court is, like, where does this come up for you, and has it changed at all?
I will say that in my business is where I really have a concerted effort because my livelihood depends on it. Mm-hmm. I am a little more unpolicing at home, but I also understand that who I am dictates who I am at home, also dictates who I am at the office. Mm-hmm. So they say, there's a saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. Mm-hmm. So that's one of my mantras. So I always also try to keep in mind that any behaviors or thought processes that I exhibit anywhere can be a butterfly effect that can help me or hurt me somewhere else. So home just tends to be practice. It's practice. But now that I have a daughter, I'm a little more conscious because I don't want her to grab any habits from me that I may have, thinking pattern habits. So she helps me kind of be the court I am at the office. I'm like, no, you can't say that because, that's actually not true. How do you know? Mm-hmm. Well, because, have you tried? So she's sort of been my, mini Courtsmith office because of just how I want her to shape her thinking. But how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's also a heuristic because that's not always 100% true either. But I tend to lean on that a lot of times, that thinking a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Any questions on this? This slide is a big slide because most of us are emotionally rigid and we don't even know it because the belief can be buried down so deep that you could be looking at me stupid with a dumb look on, like, what's wrong with you? Not realizing how rigid that you can be in a situation or a conversation. Because you might think in your mind, well, what you trip? Like, that's just the way it is. No, it's not just the way it is. That's just the way it is for you. That's just the belief that you have. That's your belief system. There's a lot of other ways that this thing can happen and happen much better. Because do you know that, like, anything you want to be and everywhere you are, there are people levels above you and levels below you. There's somebody right now that's doing exactly what you want to do, but 10 times better. And the opposite, 10 times worse. And it all is based on their level of thinking pattern, their heuristics, their beliefs, how they operate, their patterns. So where do you want to be? So emotional agility is saying this is the starting pad. This is the starting block. These are the basics. If you can't get off the basics, then you probably can't get off the starting line. And this is what attacks and affects our culture the most, is emotional rigidity, our inability to be agile in our emotions. Because it affects everything. I can't hear you when I'm rigid. I can't hear you. I cannot even hear you. You can tell me when I'm emotionally rigid, if the key words you start off with go against the heuristic in my head, I'll probably won't hear the next 30 seconds of what you said. Hey, I don't like how you talk to me. What you said to me was disrespectful. Matter of fact, it sounds stupid. There's gold underneath your desk right now, about $100,000 of it. If you want, just bend down and pick it up. You probably won't get to the gold. You'll just be like, what you say to me? Motherfucker, do you know who I... Like, you'll start going. And then later on, you'll hear that somebody else picked up the gold and be like, how come you didn't tell? I told you. Go play the tape. There's a video, I don't know if any of you've seen it. There's a video where before they play the video, they say, hey, I want you to count. Yeah. So they say, I want you to count the amount, count the amount of times that they pass each other. And so everybody focuses on them counting because they want to win the counting game. They're hooked on the counting game. And the whole time, a person in a gorilla suit walks in the middle of the screen and does a little dance and walks off. And probably, I think it's 65, 70% of the people didn't see the gorilla. It's a scientific experiment called the gorilla experiment. That's what happens to us. We miss so many opportunities, so much game from people that we talk to, so much knowledge that we can learn from other people, all because our heuristics tell us when we were 12, 9, 10, 8 years old that we don't do X. This is a big one, y'all. I'm sorry, it's a big one. If y'all don't get this one, it don't matter. It don't matter what we say. I can wear a gorilla suit. And you hooked on something else somebody said, or you mad, or you don't like a specific thing about what somebody said, and you can't even hear the gold. You can't hear the gold where the gold is. If a white man told you where the gold is and you don't like white people, would you listen to him? Or would you just say, I don't listen to white people? Really? Like that's what we do. Some of us are so biased in our thinking. There's brilliance in every culture. There's brilliant people in every culture. Yes, there are brilliant black people, but can we also say there are brilliant white folks? There's brilliance in every race. And they write those, they'll jot that brilliance down. So, again, some people don't want to listen to their own customers' feedback. Your customer said they didn't like so-and-so. Well, whoa, shit. He's trying to give you gold right there. They bought something from you. They spent money with you. And what was more important than them spending money with you, they potentially help you make thousands of dollars by realigning your patterns of how you do business with future thems. With future thems. No days. Meaning If you want more customers like me, I suggest you do this. And if you have a people can't be trusted bias, you don't want to hear it. You don't hear it. I don't know if you guys do this. I do it. This is going to be a keep it real class today. You know, it's like, remember like 2-3 years ago, I always used to tell you like the dark shit I used to do, all the fuck ups, the mistakes, the big mistakes. I'm going to have a little confessional. But anyways, when I'm listening to audiobooks, I don't know if you do this, I do it. But when I'm listening to audiobooks, the stuff that I agree with, oh man, I enjoy it. And the stuff that I don't like, or when it gets boring, or when it's stuff that's complicated, I all of a sudden got some shit to do. And I don't hear it. And 4, 5, 6 minutes pass because my brain literally shut it off while it was still playing. So I have to go back to where my brain remembered the last word and start again. Nope. I ain't letting you get away with that bullshit. Stop being a punk. Listen to it. And then I'll miraculously have something else to do again. Nope. I'm training you to listen. So we gonna do this all day if we have to.
That's tight.
Because I obviously the stuff that I liked, I already know it resonates with me. This is the stuff I need. And yeah, it's boring or some kind of long equation or it's a long point, but it's the brilliance that I need to add to my repertoire. That's how your brain acts. That's what your brain does. So do you want to let it run loose on you? Or do you want to control it? Manage it? This is important as hell.
I had to listen to that Morgan Housel podcast. That's 18 minutes. 4 times? I don't know. He said something in there that I was like, ugh. I had to listen to it it took me, what's that? What's 18 times 4?
A lot.
80?
Hour and 20
We'll
minutes.
just call it-
Hour and 20 minutes.
To get through 18 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how the observer in you, manages you the best. I'm gonna say the S word, because anything else, you're a slave to your emotions. You're a slave to your emotions. It's the truth. And we can't maneuver in an entrepreneurial space and be slave to our emotions. We just can't. Don't work. Don't work. Sorry. I know y'all was like, oh shit. But yes. Next slide. Wait.
That was the next slide.
Yes, this is.
Here we go. All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Getting hooked by thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that don't serve us. This is associated with a range of psychological ills, including depression and anxiety.
Okay, hold on. So, again, there is no way that you can be in charge of and responsible for managing large amounts of money and people and infrastructure and investors, if that's your choice. If you are always getting hooked by thoughts and feelings and behaviors, if you are always getting hooked, it's like a little kid who has the house to themselves. something's gonna break, something's gonna happen, something's gonna pop off. Like we see it all the time. We see it, and we'll sit back and talk shit about it. If you've seen over the years a 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, whether they signed a $50 million, $100 million athletic deal, or they become a pop star super fast and super young, what do you say in your mind? That's a lot of money for a little kid. It's just a matter of time, right? Because in your brain, oh man, I don't know if they're responsible enough and emotionally have enough emotional agility and emotional intelligence to make the right choices all the time. Well, what happens when you build a business and you don't have emotional agility? You're rigid emotionally. And you got big contracts on the line, big money on the line. You're managing lots of money, lots of people. And somebody piss you the fuck off, disrespect you. What happens? What do? They say, fuck you. What do? Fern about to jump out the chair, baby. What if they say, what's going on in Oakland? You black people got to get it together. It's a shithole over there. What do when somebody says something that triggers you specifically out of pocket? And you ready to crash out? Like if anybody is an entrepreneur and they're ready to crash out for any little moment, we got a problem. I'm not saying I'm not talking protecting people and protecting the people you love. That's different. I'm talking over words in business. It's not easy. Think about when Jackie Robinson came to the league. He's like, this ain't even really about baseball. This is going to be about how emotionally agile you are and your ability to manage your emotions and when you are in the right. And everywhere you go, there are going to be people gunning for you culturally. So getting hooked is learning how to unhook is going to be one of your biggest tasks.
Can I say something real quick about that one?
Mm-hmm.
That is the power of social media right now. If you find yourself scrolling, you're hooked on thoughts to have and behaviors that don't serve you. If you worry about celebrities, you're hooked on thoughts and behaviors that don't serve you. If you're gossiping, you're worrying about thoughts and behaviors that don't serve you. If you have a low frequency tuning and you're having conversations about small shit all the time, what did LeBron say to this person? Who slept with that person? What your cousin ain't doing over here? You see people who live their whole life on thoughts and behaviors that don't serve them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you read, I enjoyed Kendrick Lamar to death for the Super Bowl halftime. And then one of my family members started telling me all the details. And I just was like, I don't give a shit. Because that shit don't serve me. I don't know what to do with this trash, right? And so at the end of the day, being hooked, people think hooked is only this emotional pull or this emotional magnetic pull. They don't realize it's also your thoughts and getting hooked on behaviors that don't serve you. If you always like flashing on people, sensitive to people, going off on people, is that serving you? So I mean, like this concept is so much more. That's why he loves his book so much, because she compressed so much in such a small book. It's like you could just take 2 or 3 pages and teach 2 or 3 classes on it. But I just want you guys to kind of like There's a reason that a lot of entrepreneurs feel like they're stoic because they're disconnecting from thoughts and feelings that don't serve them.
Straight up. Keep reading.
Meanwhile, emotional agility, being flexible with your thoughts and feelings so that you can respond optimally to everyday situations, is key to well-being and success.
So respond optimally. That's where you want to be. What is the optimal response in this situation? What's the optimal response? Now, we're not AI and we're not robots either. We're humans. So this isn't a ploy to make us all perfect and where we never make any mistake. That's not even close to the issue. It's how can the observer part of me start managing the emotional part of me? The observer part of me now can detach from my emotions, and now I can play this game of being the best version of myself and responding to situations in the best way. We all have situations, people who got our number, thorns that are in our flesh, exes, baby daddies, baby mamas, or people who know how to press our buttons. That's all embedded in our life. Whether it's our children or anybody. The name of the game is how do I continue to work on myself to optimize my emotions so that I am able to respond the best way per situation. That is the name of the game. And from a post-mortem situation, be able to evaluate what happened, what I did well, what I didn't do so well, and what I can do next time. That's the name of the game. And it's not one size fits all solutions either. Everybody is different. Everyone's different. Depending on your fight, flight, freeze responses, depending on your level, how angry you get, your level of forgiveness. So everyone is too complex to say, do this, don't do this. So it's about how do you optimize yourself so that you're unhooked? Somebody say the word nigger. You unhooked. Because you're going to need it in business. Again, you're going where the sharks are. You're going where the sharks are. So you can't give a shark the best case scenario. Well, I heard about sharks. I read a book one day. So what you do is when the shark gets close to you, just punch him in the nose and you'll be fine. Punch him in the nose. You just punch him right between the eyes and they'll be fine. All right. Cool. I watched a couple YouTube videos where surfers did it. And he punched him in the nose and the shark swam away. All right. Do that then. Shit. Try it. Try it. Try it. You'll be a one-armed swimmer. Like the probability of that happening for you, low. So we need all the tools. Sharks out there. Next slide.
Between stimulus and response is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom.
This is one of the things that I learned that helped me grow, that helped me change. Long time ago, I'll say 22 years ago was when I learned this. Viktor Frankl wrote a book, Mankind's Search for Meaning, and that's what introduced it to me. There's a space between stimulus and response. And the goal is, most of us who come from a lot of trauma and a lot of pain, and who are very reactive, there's no space. Stimulus, I'll beat your ass. Stimulus, I'll cuss you out. Stimulus, I'll leave and never come back. Stimulus, no thinking, that's what happens every time. And so there's, if that's your MO, or if that's your personality, or if that's happened to you like it's happened to me, I'm sure there are several times where you regretted what you did and it was too late because you didn't give yourself time to respond, and you're like, damn, I fucked that up. I fucked that relationship up. There's no get back. I wish I wouldn't have did it like that. I wish I would have. Some of us may have dogged out good people in our lives because we didn't have no space between stimulus and response. We just responded. And well, I had trauma. Yeah, but we adults, we can work on our shit now.
Sorry.
I remember my son was trying to just be a funny son. He was like 12 years old, just trying to be a funny son. He rang the doorbell. Rang the doorbell. I walked up, I opened the door, and he said, "Boo!" And I punched him in the face. Bow! Oh, shit, I'm sorry, son. And he was like, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay." I'm like, "No, it's not okay."
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'm like, "Don't scare me. Don't do me. Don't scare me. Don't do this. I'm not good with the scare thing. I'm not good with the scare thing. I'm not good with the scare thing. Like, I've been through some tough shit. So don't do me like that. I'm sorry. We can play fun some other ways." Because the space between stimulus and response. I don't know. The space between stimulus. So the goal for all of us is widening it. Emotional agility says, I can widen this thing wide enough to where I have stimulus and I have enough time to process it and ask the question, what is the most optimal way to respond to this? Get an answer and then answer. Man, that's dope. Man, that's dope. You mean to tell me that I can optimally respond to situations without being a slave to my triggers? I'll read this book 1,000 times. As you should, until you get it. And my journey has just been working on the space. 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 2011, to the point to where I would meticulously track my incidents for the year. 2011, I was around 11 incidents per year. And that comes from anywhere from fighting to parking lot skirmishes to road rage to cussing somebody out to what. And I would track it because I wanted to rid myself of it so bad that I was tracking it. 24-hour fitness, Bayfair, brawls, the whole shit. So 2012, couple down. 2009, couple down. And just kept working on it. By 2016, 17, I was down to like 2. By the time I started teaching Hope class, I was down to 1 incident a year. Just 1. And I was super proud of myself. Because of doing all the work. And it's hard as hell. It takes just as long as it takes you to get this way that y'all are. it's just as hard to get to grow it and improve it. So don't think it's an overnight thing. Like you read the book and I'm meditating, I'm saging, I'm doing all kind of shit. And I'm reading all of this, doing all of this work. So don't think it's a tomorrow I'm gonna read this book and we good. No, it's a journey. And you know what was dope about the journey is my ability to regurgitate it to you is because of the work, the constant amount of work putting it in. You know what's funny about the stimulus and response game that I played in 2011 is between stimulus and response. So for the first couple of years, stimulus, I would respond immediately, and then about 4 seconds later, I'd be like, damn, I shouldn't have did that. Man, I could have did that better. Then the next year, it would be 2 seconds. Then the year after that, it would be right at the nick of time, and it would be a little bit earlier, and then I have a little more space. Then I have just enough space to take a deep breath. And that cut out like 4. Just enough time to take a deep breath. Then it was deep breath and thought, asking questions. What's the best way? It was to the point where my daughter's mom sometimes would say, she'd say something that hooked me. And she'd say, I hear you taking a deep breath, so you better be cool. Like, I'm trying. So this game, no, not Anala, my daughter's mom. And she be right. Like, I'm trying to work it out. Please, I'm trying to work it out. I'm trying to work it out right now because you said it wasn't cool. I'm trying to work it out. And so this is a journey. But guess what? If you don't get this journey down, it's going to bite you in business at some point. Mm-hmm. It just is. It's going to bite you in business.
Expensive.
It's going to cost you. It's an expensive thing.
He said,
Hey, he said that from experience. He said that from experience. It's going to bite you. It's going to cost you. And if you're not further along enough, it could cripple you, destroy you, and how you starting over. I told you guys plenty of times that I've crashed and burned a couple of times in business. I've been a millionaire a couple of times. But you want to know the truth? The first time wasn't as much bad business practices as much as it was being hooked and crashing out. I got hooked and I crashed out. That's the truth. I could have chose a different response, but I chose to crash out because I felt disrespected, manipulated, bullied, all the words. So I felt like I was justified in my behavior and how I crashed out. And everybody around me was like, yeah, that's exactly what you should have did. Because they was hooked too.
Yep.
That's not healthy. It's not healthy. Next slide.
I think, I have my own challenges around aggression and violence, maybe not to the same degree. So it's easy to be
I heard about you. Don't play. When you got a friend like Tennille that tells all the high school scoop about you, don't play. And I seen how you was about to beat Josh ass that one day.
He don't let nothing pass. I was trying to. What I was trying to say.
She say money or what?
No, so it's easy to hear your challenges with like managing your own emotions, and because mine might look different, it's just funny, right? And but I'm over here like, where does it happen for me? And oftentimes in the place of like self-soothing through spending. And going back to the thing about like I deserve, right? It's crazy the places that your brain will go to like validate what you deserve. I'm the only one, I'm the first one, nobody like me, like all of the things in which like you give yourself permission to make that impulsive decision in the moment. And I would say like impulsive spending for me is like a place that I could look to say like, yeah, that's a place where I really, because it's not always like in these major purchases. It's just in a lot of little purchases that accumulate over time. And I think that I'm still becoming aware of like the stimulus and response. Like I'm at the point where it's always in hindsight, so it's getting tighter. But I would say that that's definitely a place where, in situations where I don't always feel like I have control, spending is the thing I have control over, so to speak. And so that is, I'm more aware of it now, but just like being in this up and down, because spending is a way to pull back control when I don't feel like I have very much control, or when I know I don't have very much control, and like I have to confront that. It's like an immediate dopamine hit is to go and spend on something, and it could be the smallest of things, but it's like you constantly leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. Or you like, I have a hole, something is always leaking, no matter how much you have. It's just this, you're not aware that you're just like leaving a trail of those places behind you. So, yeah, just that's what's coming up for me as I was over here kind of chuckling at you and your breathing. It can be anywhere. And for me, that's where it is.
I think that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that's a great point. Because depending on how you built, you can outlet the hook in different ways. So if you need to be distracted when you're hooked, then you'll go off into the world of distraction. Whether that's scrolling, watching a movie, binge watching, doing all kind of things, because you got hooked. If you have an addictive personality where you get addicted to things easier, then when you get hooked, then you'll go off into your addictions, whatever that addiction is. You need a drink, you need to smoke, you need to have sex, you need to do whatever. You're going to go off into whatever the addiction, that addictive behavior is for you. If you're passive aggressive, then you're going to behave in a different way. You're going to be more vindictive. If you telling it like it is and getting people face, you're going to do that. God forbid you have all four in you.
I didn't say pause. It was just Sadi.
That's mathematically impossible, bro.
It's pretty strong there. 4.
That's
4 and 1.
That's mathematically impossible, bro. See, they reaching with the. They reaching. Come on, cuz.
Pretty impressive.
But God forbid you're afflicted with all four of those, and it can happen. It can happen. Yeah, I'll raise my hand too. It's a lot of work you got to do on yourself. It's a lot of work. Constantly be observing yourself. Like I look at myself like a 3-year-old little bad motherfucker running around preschool, tearing shit up. And I have to constantly be like, do you want some okay, you can do it later, but you could, as long you be good now, you're gonna get it later. That's how I'm constantly interacting with myself. Pay attention now. If you pay attention, if you be good, then you're gonna get some candy later. Because everybody's different. Everybody built different. That's why I can speak on the shit. And life ain't fair. You built how you built. Do you want it or not? I don't like. It doesn't matter. Well, some people start halfway on the hill to get to the top, and other people have to start at the bottom. But just get to the top of the hill. Shit, that's how shit is. Whatever you got, figure out how to use it. Ain't nobody gives a shit about you. If you don't make it, ain't nobody gonna be like, I wonder where that person was. How come they're not up here with us? No. Next slide.
Emotionally agile people are dynamic. They demonstrate flexibility in dealing with our fast-changing, complex world. They are able to tolerate high levels of stress and to endure setbacks while remaining engaged, open, and receptive. They understand that life isn't always easy, but they continue to act according to their most cherished values and pursue their biggest long-term goals.
Okay, so that's why in entrepreneurship it's very challenging if you have black and white thinking, all or nothing thinking, good or bad thinking. It's either super amazing or it's terrible thinking, because in life and in business is filled with tons of small gray areas, in betweens, ands instead of ors. There's so much complexity in this world. And in order for you to be able to adapt and be agile, you have to be open, curious to all the flexibilities and complexities of the way things are. Mm-hmm. If not, you're stuck in this rigid way that you're like an anchor. You're like an anchor that as soon as you get in the water, you fall straight to the bottom. Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to be swimming. We're supposed to be getting A to B. So when the waves hit you, then you're supposed to have the ability to change your sail, to move, to adapt, to go over the waves, to let some water get in, to have what we call in the water world bilge pump, to be able to pump the water out. You have to be able to adapt to all the changes that go on in the water, because it's constantly up and down. It's constantly moving you around up and down. That's this world we navigate in, and still get to your destination. Still get there. That's what emotional agility is. When I first started this, I was like, basically, you trying to make me soft. But that's not true. It's actually the opposite. When you don't respond to other stimulus, you're way more powerful.
Yes.
Usually, the short stimulus response people who flash, they're the most emotionally vulnerable, weakest person in the room. Mm-hmm. Because you're so readable and predictable, I could take you out mentally. Mm-hmm. I don't even have to battle with you. I could take you out mentally. Remember in school, your mama jokes? Who would want to fight somebody because somebody talked about their mama? Don't you talk about my mama. I'm fighting words. Like, it's that easy to someone whose stimulus and response is so close together. That's the whole old Ron Artest trick. You know what the Ron Artest trick is? Ron Artest was a phenomenal basketball player. Phenomenal basketball player in the NBA. And I love Ron Artest. But if you can fire him up, if you can elbow him a couple times and the ref doesn't see, and get him to get angry, it's a good chance you can get him teched out the game. And maybe thrown out after the second tech. All you got to do is just prod him, agitate him, piss him off a little bit, and when a ref don't see, ref, he's pushing me, then it's not fair. Then once he retaliates, a lot of times the retaliator does it right where the ref can see. Right? That's what happens. So you can take a great player out who has emotional rigidity and plays a tough guy. You can take him out and get him sat down playing that game if you're smart. You might have to be subjected to get punched in the face. He's going to punch you in the face. That's the price you pay to win the game, to get that W. But a lot of times the emotional rigid people getting kicked out of the game, punching you in the face was worth it. The psychology of a person who thinks like that is it's worth it to punch you in the face. I'm so mad, fuck winning this game. It felt good to punch you in the face. That's not entrepreneurial thinking. It's not entrepreneurial thinking. Next slide. Wait, no, you passed one.
Mm-hmm. They still experience feelings like anger and sadness. Who doesn't? But they face these with curiosity, self-compassion, and acceptance. And rather than letting these feelings derail them, emotionally agile people effectively turn themselves, warts and all, toward their loftiest ambitions.
This slide is one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. It does not mean we are supposed to be perfect, because we will not be. We will not be. It's the truth. Last year, 2024, I had an incident. It's been multiple years since I had one incident. Last year, I had one. Fuck. It's been 2 years since I even had an incident. I was doing so well. That's the beauty of this slide. You're gonna get angry. You're gonna feel sad. You're gonna mess up. Everybody does. That's why you shouldn't be judging other people in the first place. But instead of letting those feelings derail you, just get back on. Just get back on. It's like you're adopting a certain way of eating because you want to be in better shape. You want to lose weight. You want to do whatever. And you're adopting a certain eating style. The first day you mess up, do you be like, fucked up. Well, I'm back to where I was, back to what I was doing. No. That's one data point where it was a low data point. You get back on, and over the course of 30 days, it's just one data point. But if you quit and go back to where you was because you made one mistake, now you really fucked up. That's what a lot of us do. Grab them.
So if we look at this with curiosity, we're able to identify these triggers that we may not have been aware of?
Absolutely. So if you look at it with curiosity and you are observing yourself, then the observationist in you will say, man, when that person said that, I felt the type of way. What was that? Was it anger? Was it jealousy? Was it sadness? And work your way backwards to the root of that. If you say you're working on a business, catering business, and your catering business is growing, but it's growing slow. Maybe you're doing 100,000 a year, 200,000 a year, maybe. And you come across somebody on the news and say, yeah, 21-year-old started a catering business. Just made $10 million in his first year. And you got a little jump in your stomach. What the fuck was that? What was that? Oh, was that bitterness? Was that jealousy? Was that envy of that person? Let's dissect that. Why? And work through that to where you can say, you know what? That's their journey. God bless that person. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them. So that the next time you hear something like that, you started a new pattern. In the new pattern of getting unhooked from that particular thing. That's what curiosity does. That's how you get there. You can't get there no other way but from curiosity. Because the beauty of curiosity is you're asking questions. Curiosity is asking questions. I wonder what that is. What is that? What is that? And if we're present in this class, a lot of the answers we have, we need access to them through asking questions. If we don't ask questions, we won't get there because our emotions is going to take over and we doing a straight shot to how we feel. See how the young people, man, that's just a hype cycle. They going to crash. Maybe, but is that your default? That's where you're going? So, absolutely yes. But this slide is a regulator for us. It allows us to be human. It allows us to be human. We human. And we come from some crazy shit. So this is a work in progress. So be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. I told the story before that I was working on this and I was down to like one incident a year and I was helping a young brother out at the gym and he saw me have my one incident a year and he stopped talking to me. And we worked on some shit and he evolved his life way better. He got himself to a way better place in life. Money-wise, job-wise, emotional-wise. I gave him hella books to read, and he was on it, rocking, hella juiced. Every time he saw me, his eyeballs was like this big because he was so juiced at what was happening. Like, yeah, I told you. And when he saw that one incident, it was like he curled into this little, and he was like, Court. And like I told him, I said, yeah, but to you, that's horrible. To me, it's progress. Because there was only one. There was only one. One for the year. That was it. And I said, when you saw that incident, did you lose money? Did the money in your bank account disappear? Did the job that you worked for, that we worked on, did that job just go away? No, you still in the same pattern and trajectory that you was going. So the information is the same. We human. You're around me long enough, I will fail you at some point. Anybody who's around anybody long enough will fail them in something at some point. That's the beauty of being human. That's the beauty of being human. And I love it. Next slide.
Unhappy in a relationship, find another. Not productive enough, there's an app for that. When we don't like what's going on in our inner world, we apply the same mindset. We go shopping, we get a new therapist, or we resolve to fix our own unhappiness and dissatisfaction and simply think positive.
Ooh,
That one.
we can go so deep into this one. I think what we're gonna do is start next week with this slide again. This is where a lot of the runners do. Hey, ooh, ouch! This hurts. I'm out. The thrill of learning something new. Oh, it was so fun. I learned something new. Now the kind of learning new kind of tapers off, and I'm not learning as fast, and I'm not improving as fast as I was. Now I'm kind of bored, so I quit. I want to try another. So you hop from exciting intro to exciting intro, and never master shit. The first 4 or 5 pounds, man, you ripped that 4 or 5 pounds off your body because you was going, it was feeling good, and then it tapered off, and then you got on the scale, and you only lost 1 pound, or you stayed the same, or you gained, and then then that feeling starts dissolving in you, and you was like, fuck that shit. I'm gonna go do something else.
That's real talk.
This we call that the dabbler. You're a dabbler. So you hella good at intros, at all kind of things, but you don't know what the middle feels like. You don't know what the 3/4 way feels. You don't know what the end feels like. So you can't be reliable to follow through on nothing past the first 15 minutes or something. Cause you bored, or you said something I don't like. I ain't fucking with you. You like the I remember last thing, and I'm out. I remember a female partner that I had took me to therapy. We did group therapy together. So I didn't say nothing. I just let her talk. So at the end of her talking, the therapist was like, yeah, so that doesn't make, he told you this, right? He said this, right? You just told me he said this to you before, right? So then how is he in the wrong when he told you all these things up front? You think we went to that therapist again? Nope. Never seen her again. She looked at her like, bitch, I gave you $100 for you to turn on me like that? So I looked at her like, yeah, we both agree. That's what we do in life, is we run from pain. Soon as something gets painful, we run. And we gonna work on that, not running, walking into the smoke, walking into the fire, walking into the pain, because that's where our progress is on the other side. All right? Yeah.
All right. That was really solid. By the way, not only do you run, you drift. Some people run, some people just drift. Meaning that they all of a sudden find themselves with new hobbies or new interests and neglect their main focus and their main purpose. And so it's a run, it's a drift, it's a distraction. It's a cold game, so I'm looking forward to him starting. Well, it's actually week after next. Next week is a discussion week. So next week class, I'm gonna make sure you guys, those of you online that can show up, let's make sure we in house. We're gonna have a discussion about the last 2 classes and the book rework. So we're gonna have a discussion around that book. There's Tone Vic saw me at a party, and he put me aside and said, "Yeah, I got some stuff for you." So I'm looking forward to the conversations. By the way, I brought in one of Meezy's puzzles. Those of y'all got a chance to see it. I just want to show you how raw this boy is on some of his puzzle designs. This is one of the puzzles he dropped off by the house. Shakina already tried to steal it from me. My wife told me I better bring it back home. I know. I don't need puzzles. Fighting me is my puzzle. But it's so many pieces. But the point is this. But this is just shows you one of our students in the class
that's dope,
who's been with us for quite some time, and this is some of his amazing work. So y'all look him up, get out there. Let me see. Does he have a website on this thing? I'm old. Where's it at? It's unifiedpieces.com. www.unifiedpieces.com. My brother's making some dope pieces. As you can see online, use that camera. This is pretty fucking tight. All right, let's get to these slides because hey, I'm gonna do all my side talks and all my side conversations on the last discussion class, but I want to make sure that we're rolling. So keep going. I can't wait to get that self-help too. I can't wait. Anyway, keep going. Like what's so funny? I was looking forward to him finishing all his slides because I was reading them in the head. I was like, I want to see what you're going to talk about this one. So I'm actually excited about this, him diving back into the book. Once again, just always remind you guys that if you're online, subscribe. And also, too, if you can, donate. If you also work at companies, at the end of the year, don't forget 510 Media and our donation. We are a 501c3. We're not a cousin hookup donation system from your pocket to mine, but we actually are a 501c3. And so if you donated, and also I want to I spent a special shout out to Fern. Fern gave a nice donation to her tickets went so fast, it made my nose bleed. It was, you blinked, they were gone. I said, dear Jesus. But once again, if you've been to a Fern event, you're going back to Fern's event. And that's how Fern get down. Fern is a amazing entrepreneur who's runs her business from a very offensive perspective. So
can I throw in there? Make sure you buy all of Fern's merch when you get there. All of it.
Yeah, that's real talk. Fern, like I said, Fern is dope. I mean, just hands down. If you guys get a chance, you guys who have our Tinder event that had an opportunity to meet her, stop by and shake her hand. You're gonna find out that Fern's a dope sister. And,
Absolutely.
And it's a blessing to be in her space. All right, let's get to the next slide. All right, so we're going to get into principle 2, little thinking. Now, let me say this before we jump into this principle. This is a threshold. This is going to be a threshold class. Black people, this conversation we're going to have is kind of an extension of what Court was talking about, but this is the threshold where many of us turn around. When you say, why isn't there any what's happened to the black businesses and black community? Tonight we're going to get into the weeds. We're not going to play this just color identity, like, oh, black, white. That's too superficial. It doesn't arm you with any tools to make a change. Once again, I promise you, I'm going to enhance your strategical thinking in this class. And so, because I'm going to enhance your strategical thinking, this class, I'm going to have to try to get through this. Please ask questions because this is going to be kind of nothing I'm going to teach you tonight is visible. You won't be able to put your hands on it. But you'll know, if once you get it, you'll see how it is literally the threshold that many of us are not crossing. So with that being said, let's just do a quick recap. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, should we want to do a quick recap? I'm going to kind of move quickly through this because it's kind of like just bringing forward some of the highlights from last week. So let's jump into it.
Key idea, reality isn't always as obvious as it seems.
Mm-hmm.
We feel that we're standing on solid ground here. We think the ground is reality, that it's obvious, but we actually constructed this reality.
So once again, you guys remember the map is not the terrain. So a lot of times that the reality that we think we understand is really our brain formulating a story that gives us access to that story becomes reality that we see, not the reality that actually exists in front of us. That's a very important point for people who have a lot of historical trauma, because a lot of times the reality that we see is poisoned by our cultural response to trauma, our response to trauma, and the stories that surround us. Even those stories you've seen from the slave movies to Amistad, all those movies that kind of suggested that we have always been in an inferior position, is shaping a story in your head that becomes your reality. Keep going. Now these are teaching notes, so I structured this where the quotes are coming from the book and the teaching notes are kind of like a summary. Go ahead.
What we often call obvious is actually one of many possible interpretations. Recognize that different people may see the same situation very differently.
So going back to this again, once again, everybody has different realities based upon different interpretations, different histories, different background. Diversity doesn't mean, next week I'm going to talk about diversity. I know I'll do it this week. But diversity means that people who are having the same experience are having different interpretations from different backgrounds. None of them are completely factual, right? So it's the similar idea of the blind people surrounding the elephant, touching the elephant. They all have their interpretation, and they may be accurate based upon their attention span and their experience, but it's not the whole story, right? That's important because also too, when you read books, like by a particular group, African Americans, white people, whatever, just people, you'll find that rarely does anyone ever paint an elephant. They just paint a portion of the elephant. And a lot of times, a lot of African Americans will ring around quoting a lot of African history. Mind you, I study a lot of African history. But a lot of times we don't get contextually what else was happening. And what was the other person's why, right? Let's give an example. Target says we're ending DEI. Mm-hmm. Has anybody talked to the CEO? Has anybody had a conversation with the CEO? So in the end, you're now, those who are upset and protesting and boycotting Target, they're operating on their story and their reality. They haven't sat down with Target and say, well, what's your reality? And then let's be clear on what we're asking for so we can find this intersection where we're looking for this benefit that you can provide us with, right? But what happens is that we're caught in an emotional reasoning loop, and a lot of facts are not on the table, and no one is looking at a separate reality. That's important because, unfortunately, if you feel the world doesn't care for you, that's the same mindset that's going to trap you in the same small world. You have to be able to see other people's motivations and incentives as you move through a world where everybody doesn't look and think like you. Next slide.
Yeah, like those brands are so small, they're not making no money.
Huh?
Yeah, like those brands are so small, they're not making no money.
Yeah.
The obvious and liminal space. Liminal space is the gap between baseline reality and our personal sense of the obvious.
So the reality in your mind and the reality outside there, liminal thinking is getting between those two. You have a reality of how you see the world and the real reality out there. And liminal thinking is learning how to think between the two. So you know how he said about there's a thing between the emotional, the stimulant and the response is being hooked, right? And you can think between those spaces. You can actually observe something, analyze how you feel, analyze how you think about it, and realize that's the reality in your mind separate from the realities that's out there. The reason that's important, because when you get into business and you get into strategical thinking, or you get into like navigating a business into a world you've never been in, if you allow the reality in your mind to become your form of thinking, you'll always end up at the same destination. So in order for you to go to a new destination, you have to escape your brain. And that's where liminal thinking comes in. Being able to think between the reality that you exist in and the reality is out there. And I promise you, in the next 3 classes in this subject, I'm going to show you strategical business tools that even I use or big companies use all the time to exist in this liminal space. So I'm priming you right now because the next class I'm gonna break away from the book and teach a strategy class. Then I'm gonna come back to the book. It's all gonna be around the same thing. But in order for you to understand the strategy class I'm gonna teach after our discussion class, you have to understand there's a space between what you feel and what you think you see and what's really out there. Right? Like, think about this. If you watch footage of Kendrick Lamar performing, you saw a lot of white people just sitting there not responding. Do you know why? If you don't know why, is the problem your assumptions or is the problem they didn't dance? Right? Like if you watch them not dance, oh, they didn't dance, so they don't like black music. Do you know that for sure? And if you don't know that for sure, people can get in that space and feel that space in for you, and before you know it, you're on this tangent that takes you way over here, which eventually you end up at the same destination over and over and over again. Is because what you're doing is your story is unfolding the same destination for you over and over. It's not the world that you live in.
I don't have rhythm. That's the reason.
What?
I don't have rhythm. That's why I didn't dance.
I can't interpret that. Anyway, go ahead.
The space between the baseline of reality and the obvious is liminal space. These needs, feelings, and thoughts happen inside you. If you don't talk about them, they are invisible to others.
So another thing too. Going back to what Court said, one of the things I don't think you guys realize, I don't think it's not that you're not trying to talk about them. I don't think you can see them too. I really meet people who can understand liminal thinking and can talk about it. When you learn how to talk about it, it's so empowering. So me and Mashama use liminal communication all the time. We're able to say, I see this, I feel this, what's going on between that space? And then I'm going to teach you guys double loop learning. We engage a double loop learning process that allows us to explore rooms and spaces that reveal new ideas to us. But many of you guys are going to the same room with the same furniture, same layout to only produce the same results. And so liminal thinking is realizing that's not the only room. And you got to know how to, if you can't see it, I'm going to try to display it tonight. How you just really can't see it because it's so deeply baked in. You know, Court taught a class and he probably will reteach it because it's in, I think, in the same book, Governing Beliefs. You have these deep, deep, deep beliefs that are so baked in, your brain goes, that's just the way it is. And when you're engaging strategy, you're building strategy on top of that's the way it is. And then you call me and say, hey, Nana, can you help me with my strategy? And what you will not question is the way it is for you. This is just how I am, Nana. I was born like this. This is what it is for me. And I say, but why? No, you're not getting to the strategy I want to work on. I promise you this is, you can't even do this with most clients. Most clients, you can lose a client with this. Client can call you in, hey, I need you to help me out with some stuff. And you say, well, why are you even doing that? And that could be the most stickiest space of all times, because what you just told them is that I don't think you're right. That's how they read it. When you're saying, but I'm questioning your incentives. Keep rolling.
Liminal thinking involves becoming more aware of this invisible gap.
It's invisible. When I say this is an invisible gap, you won't until you actually. Liminal is a space you have to exercise into existence. It's just like the stimulus and response. If you don't exercise this liminal space, okay, once you exercise liminal space, you'll see my disciplines. But if you don't know that I know this thing, you'll think I'm special. Because it'd be like, how'd you see that? And it's not, I'm not 1% more educated than you are. I found this space to grow and expand and allow myself to ask a deeper question or explore different levels of a challenge that allows me to produce a way richer outcome. But it's not that I'm special. And this liminal thing, if you don't get this thing here, it's because it's so invisible, you don't see it in movies, you don't see it on television, you don't see it anywhere. But if you don't get this thing we're about to teach you tonight, then it's going to make those who understand it seem like we're gurus and God is talking to us. And it's not. It's that we understand an invisible variable that you just can't see. That's why I say this is going to be kind of classes. I might struggle, and if you need to stop me, like, I don't get it, stop me. Let's say, give me about 30 minutes before you start stopping me, right? Because I'm going to kind of build, don't stop me now, like, I don't know what the fuck you said. Of course you don't. And then also it says in the last part of the sentence it says, both in yourself
and others.
So, if you can't see liminal belief, if you can't see liminal thinking within yourself, you won't see the flaws of other people's strategy and mistakes. You won't even see your employees correctly. You're going to be using these very pure, weak anecdotes to analyze. So you can, okay, in hindsight, you may be able to go, well, if they would have just did this, this, and this, they could have did this. But the answer is kind of already there because you already know the strategy didn't work, right? Can you do it in real time when the answer is not there? And that's where liminal thinking comes in. Because you'll see flaws and gaps. You'll see contradictions. You'll see things that like, what does that variable got to do with what we're thinking about? You'll be able to see it. It becomes it's so revealing to the point that you find most of the world don't know how to use this tool. And that's why this year I wanted to teach, because I realized last year the assumptions were getting on my nerves last year. Like just from everybody. It's just so many assumptions. And I realized nobody's using liminal thinking. And so tonight we're gonna get into the doom loop. But go ahead, keep going. Next slide.
Why liminal thinking matters. By recognizing how beliefs are formed, you can adapt or change them. This helps you break free from automatic knee-jerk reactions and opens the door to new possibilities.
So going back to Shabisha, when you was making this comment about your shopping addiction, right? A lot of your power sometimes comes from how was this thought formed? And then you start to see, what are my options? That's where your optionality opens up. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we victimize ourselves because we validate the origin of the feeling, and we never say, is there another option? Mm-hmm. We never ask those questions. Or, why do I even have this feeling? Mm-hmm. Right? We let the feeling exist, and then we try to build all these conversations around the feeling as if the feeling is just as natural as the sunshine. Realizing, going back to the pyramid, we'll pull the pyramid of beliefs in a minute. But if you go back to the pyramid of beliefs, is here's reality, here's your experience, and then here's this line that's so micro right now that's like just don't even squint your eyes because you can't see with your human eyes. And then on top of that, you build theories and judgment, and then that's the way it is. That's the way it is that you establish that's so harsh is built on distortions or limited perception. Mm-hmm. So, yet liminal thinking says, you can move this space here. And many of us never move this space because all we think about is the way it is the foundation we're going to start all these conversations from. So you call me in your office to talk business, the way it is locked in, that has judgment, theories, experience, and my attention, what I paid attention to when I had this experience. Mm-hmm. You know, when I went and sat with Steve Jobs, we talked. And what I got from him is what I've been using all this time. And this is why I'm successful. All false. All false. What did you hear when he spoke? Because you didn't hear everything. You couldn't possibly hear everything. You don't have the same level of insight Steve Jobs has. Number two, when you took that information and you applied it, how much experience did you have to apply that information? What attention span did you focus on as far as the response to the information you put out there, right? And so your judgment is distorted, and that's room for us to get into strategy to make changes that change the outcome. You guys see where I'm going with this? If you just hang with me. Next slide. Go ahead.
How beliefs are.
Oh, okay. So this is the beginning of where we going. So let me tell the priming story. The man who wrote this book brought home a new dog from the vet, and he wanted to give the family a new dog. So he decided to give the dog, for the holiday, they brought the dog this bone as a gift. That's so white people. But anyway, he decided, you know, when dog gets a bone from the gift is when the holiday food is over, you like, here, take this. But they brought the dog a bone. So when they passed the dog growled, snatched the bone, and ran to the corner. And so the child of the family said, "Oh, dog, you don't have to act like this," and went to grab the bone, and the dog snapped and started to bark. And the father's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." Now, what you don't realize in that space is the dog has a belief system, and the humans have a belief system, and they had an intersection. They could have had a horrible outcome or a good outcome based upon how those two beliefs intersected each other, right? This is important because this is super powerful once you guys understand how this shit works, right? Mm-hmm. So let's get into the dogs. This is the first portion. This is kind of like referencing the dog story I just told.
We gave this dog that big bone, and he just turned evil.
So by the way, they can't pause me because you read it. Go ahead.
I wasn't even thinking.
Yeah. Like if I read that line, y'all be like, nah. So no, I can just reference it. But he get that dog that big what?
Hey, yo.
I hear you. Go ahead.
He thought my son was trying to take his bone away.
Hey,
And y'all cannot pause me. I ain't read shit. Go ahead.
The insight is the dog's behavior was driven by a belief that valuable resources must be protected.
Black people, remember Court taught a class on scarcity? There's values you have based upon how you grew up, based on community. Like, even if you didn't grow up that way, your family members, because we know black people, we ain't got all rich people families, right? So there's certain values that you built with resources, right? That you just go into a certain space when you have resources, when you don't have resources, when you're trying to gain resources, right? And that value system ain't the way it is. That's your trauma. This is important. When we got to go here, because if you don't get this shit, you're going to miss how slavery and Jim Crow is fucking you over. And if you don't change the way you think about some things, and you don't realize every time media is pumping up certain stories, they're stimulating a belief system that produces like a boomerang effect. You throw that boomerang as many times as you want, it's going to keep coming back, right? It's a belief system that will stimulate the same outcome. And this is why when you meet an entrepreneur who's moving forward, they let go some of these beliefs, not because they don't see the historical damage. They realize that the outcome of these beliefs is yielding the same results, and those results are working against them. And so the dog is many of us in our communities when it comes to our resources. Just stay with that. Like, keep the dog. I don't, for those of you who are sensitive about black folks shit, and I'm black, I don't know if y'all noticed that yet, but just for the sake of this exercise, let's just associate the dog behavior with the African American behavior. Just sake of this argument. If imagine somebody saying, "What's up, dog?" Just be a dog for a few minutes. All right, let's keep going. That same slide, bottom the teacher notes.
Our actions are often explained by our underlying stories.
Mm-hmm.
If our story is they're trying to take something from me, it triggers defensive or aggressive action.
So, if y'all watch this DEI thing, I'm gonna give you just some small insights. You see a lot of people upset about it, but then they read the stats and say we were the bottom beneficiaries of DEI. It wasn't like we're the top beneficiaries. Now we're the bottom, but we're doing all the arguing. Like really, we should be standing behind white women and they should have guns out. And we should be like, yeah, what did she say, right? Because they benefited from it. But instead, we had the lowest level of benefit from it, and yet we're triggered actually. And now we're mad about we're gonna boycott Target, we're triggered. We never said, hey, okay, so what do we want? How many days we gonna boycott until we get what? When do we sit down? When do we stop? Right? Like mama will go to Target get some soap. How long do I need to do this? Right? How long we gonna ride with this? Right? We gotta also ask, is Target practicing diversity, or are they just removing the title DEI? Like none of these questions are part of the conversation. Is a space where we're telling, and this is how it happens. If I say, hey, Shabisha, diversity is not really, it doesn't work like that for us. She doesn't launch with data. What does she launch with?
Emotion.
Emotional what?
Reasoning.
No, stories. I know somebody. Black folks have been going through this for so many years. At the end of the day, these companies don't respect who we are. What does that got to do with anything? This is important because when you're in business, this happens all the time. People will launch. You're at a point, intersection where we should be having a strategical dialogue, and guess who shows up? Stories that start blanketing the whole damn conversation, and before you know, we don't realize we're tainting our strategical thinking because of some stories that we're holding on to. This is important because if reality is random and it's always changing, and we're not repeating the past, and the past doesn't exist anymore, are the stories always serving us? Many times they don't. Many times they don't serve us. And so sometimes the story becomes more important than the strategic choices that's right in front of us. This is important. Fairness is a story. I'm tired of people treating me like You tired of people treating you like this, and me and you're negotiating, and it's a trade-off, and I'm supposed to win, or you're supposed to win? Somebody's going to lose? But now you made it a story of fairness? You get how there's an intersection where your story is starting to corrupt this strategical engagement. You guys get this? Is it making sense to you? Okay, keep rolling. Next slide.
Defining belief.
Mm-hmm.
A belief is a story in your head, a cause and effect chain, like a recipe or rule for action.
Okay, this is so great. Keep going.
We use beliefs, stories, to guide how we respond to our needs.
So by the way, the key word is stories. Stories are so fucking powerful. If you say, this happened to me at the age of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Just keep going. Have you ever experienced something to later on find out that's not what you experienced, but that's how it felt to you? Mm-hmm. What happens when your trauma is sparked by something you experience, but you have a contextual distortion? I'm saying, like, okay, we're not talking about the extremes, right? We're not talking about you were shot, molested. That's not what I'm putting on the table. I'm talking about, I don't do business with this because. And whatever experience you had, for example, last time I went over here, they didn't even mess with me. They obviously don't mess with black people. No, you weren't talented. I'm sorry. You weren't even aware of the competition. I'm sorry. You couldn't make that person no money. I'm sorry. But when you're in that space, have you guys watched The Voice before, right? All those people think they can sing. I ain't never seen somebody get there and be like, yo, okay, I don't know how I got here because I sound like shit, but hey, band, hit it, right? No, that's never happened, right? They get up there and be like, he'd be like, whoa, right? This guy had to take his headphones off, like, whoa, shit. Don't mess with my goddamn hearing. I got years ago. but the reality is that people, when you give your interpretation of the moment, going back to that surrounding the elephant, it's your story. Not necessarily the reality. And nor do we ever go back and investigate the story, to investigate every party's interest, society's context. So, for example, I was watching Ricky Smiley today, and he's teasing a grandmother, she's fussing at her daughter who's overweight and a little slow, and she's going to put her hand like this, right? You don't see that hardly no more. Like, shut up, what I tell you, shut up. I don't see that no more. But contextually at the time, that was a norm. There was a time when I was a kid, a woman being slapped in a movie was a norm. Mm-hmm. Today it's like, what the? Are you seriously? So when certain things happen, you be like, yeah, my mother slapped me when I was this age. How old are you? What generation are you from? There's so many contextual things that play into those stories that it's like, oh, your mother was abused. And abused people, right? But you don't see all that. All you know is this happened, and this is why I believe, feel, or need this. This is important. Keep going. So watch this.
If I'm hungry
and need,
then I should eat.
Belief.
To satisfy that hunger.
Action. I just want you to say, if you're hungry, when you have an affective feeling, then you believe that what you should do is eat, which means then my action, I will satisfy that hunger. Now, let's just use that for a second before I get into the next one. You could just need some water. Could need some sleep. You don't have to eat that. Maybe your eating habits are too far apart, which means that it's going to force you to eat worse because your spacing is so far apart that you wait until the energy gets out of control. Let's see how much room you get to move just in that simple, I'm hungry, so I ate. Because I ate, satisfy my hunger. Sounds very simple and rational, but to a strategist, it's not. When Kaja said a couple of weeks ago, I work out 2 days a week. I'm not seeing any results. The reason I said I had so many questions is because there's too many gaps in what she said. There was nothing that said to me that's factual. There's a lot of people that will talk to you every day and throw that at you. I'm a gay man, and they're homophobic. That's why they didn't hire me. I'm a black man, they're racist. That's why they didn't hire me. I'm a woman, they're sexist. That's why they didn't give me a promotion. No one that says, hey, slow down. Because if you accept that answer, that's your new limiting beliefs. Y'all see how how you can mix all, like you could take all these ideas that you hear in society all the time and no one asks questions. No one goes past that second stage because it's so charged with, I feel, so respect my feelings. If you don't respect my feelings, you don't respect me. Right? I'm overweight and it's just, I'm big boned and it's just the way it's been. I did.
Owned it.
For sure. Go ahead. Keep reading this one.
So business entrepreneur example is, if I need more customers, then I should invest in marketing to generate leads and sales. If the campaign works, the belief is reinforced. If it fails, the entrepreneur may need to revise their belief about which marketing strategies are effective.
Or should you be engaging in that form of marketing at all? But have you ever tried to tell somebody, say, hey, I just started my business, got my first logo. I wrote my first business plan. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I even agree with that part. So no, I need you to look at my business plan, tell me if it's a good one. I don't want to look at your business plan. Because we can't have that other conversation, which is, have you sold anything? How are you doing marketing and you ain't sold anything? That's one reason I don't really want to work with small black businesses, because you haven't sold anything for me to work with you on. And on top of that, let me add another thing to marketing and branding. You haven't identified who you're selling to. So if you haven't identified who you're selling to, and you haven't identified why they like you, not the product. You can say, well, I make puzzles. No, don't give a fuck about no puzzles. Why do they like your puzzles? If you haven't identified that, why are you talking to me? But there's so many gaps between that concept, which is, I tried marketing, didn't work. Well, okay, hold the shit. Where do I go with this? But I'm gonna keep digging deeper into this till you start to hear yourself. Next slide.
If X, then Y pattern. Key formula, beliefs often work like if, need, then action.
So real quick. Think about how you're making decisions in your business every day. I have a need to make more money, so these are the actions I usually take. I work harder. Is that true? The need and the X and the Y is questionable. The X and the Y. Well, what does the person usually do when this happens? This is when you know somebody's getting offended, because they get really charged with, okay, now you on some other shit. That's kind of what they're implying. Well, what do I usually do if a person's hungry? What you want to do? You're not eating something? What you trying to suggest? If somebody come to your office and they talking crazy, one will just sit there like a little punk and just let them talk crazy to me? If somebody try to take money from me, one will just let them take my money and get broke? Right? Like this, I want you to pay attention to how your brain has this line you draw in the sand and you're building from there.
Right.
You're not willing to even challenge your foundation. Your foundation is totally challengeable. It's totally challengeable. Well, he walked in here, I'm a woman, and he started talking all macho and shit like he's a man, and what I'm supposed to sit there and let him talk? So I had to stand up and, yeah, no, that's what you traditionally do. And what was the outcome? I can tell you what the outcome, but I'll let you tell me. Well, he walked out, I walked out, and whatever. It wasn't an A and B. Strategy is never A and B. It's A, B, C, D, F, G, 1, 2, half point, fraction, power to the 2. It could be all kind of variables. But you can't see the other variables because you lock down to simplicity at your core. You build complexity on top of simple foundations. You guys get where I'm going with this? your foundation can be changed. Where it even sits can change. But some of you guys come in with a hard, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, this is why I'm into it. So talk to me up here about like the tactical recipes that I could change, even though I shouldn't even be in the kitchen. This is even bad kitchen. The weather's off. You're using wrong water. You don't want to talk about none of that shit because maybe that's your grandmother's pipes. Pause. Yes, a shout out to grandmothers. But the point is, it's your grandmother's. Yeah. Hey, how y'all became grandmothers?
Low
What?
blow, that's a
come
low.
on, hey, come on, y'all getting a little too soft for me over here. Okay, keep going. So keep going. Next one.
If you are hungry,
So okay.
if you are hungry,
Hold on a second.
I was like, you are fired.
Okay. I love my grandmothers. Anyway, hey girl. All right, let's go.
Oh gosh. If you are hungry, need, then eat. Belief. If that causes you to feel less hungry, result.
So a lot of times too is, okay, this is when it gets sticky. Y'all thought it was easy. What happens when your behavior, your belief system has been yielding you results, but it's still bad strategy? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it got you to a point that your business does $500,000 a year, but you can't get one step past that. Mm-hmm. Because your beliefs and then what you're trying to do, you're changing the blinds, the colors, the this, and this, and you don't want to have a conversation down here. Because this hurts. This is where you're sensitive. This is how I feel some kind of way. This is when people talk about people like this, I'm kind of defensive in this space here. I want you guys to understand. Like, I want you guys to understand, like, this is the coldest game. Like, you can get results from bad beliefs and bad choices, but find that at the end of the game, you fall in the same bucket with the rest of black folks, which none of y'all became this. Mm-hmm.
I just want to say that, like, this is exactly like the pot that I'm in right now of just like building a company that is better than most people start off with, but then being stuck with this ceiling that I created for myself because it was challenging to let go of things that worked to get me to where I'm at now. And so it's so true. And just like trying to figure out how to switch from primarily operating in a defensive space to being more curious and being offensive. But it's a really challenging thing.
Well, think about this too. You have your ego tied up into it. Your status is tied up into it. Your version of you, which is a story, just a story, it's also tied up into it. Mm-hmm. 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 It ain't like it's just like you just been like slamming your hand every day and money falls out the ceiling. You're like, okay, well, damn, it ain't falling as much today. That's not what I'm talking about. It's no like, Nana is magical. And every time he hits a table, people watching you now. You come to see you, you're like, I need some lotion before I get started. Not that kind of lotion. And you slam your hand, pow! And money fall down, you be like, thank you. I'm gonna write a book about it soon. I've been giving lectures about this. How when I hit the table, it's the way my hand hits the table that causes money to fall from the ceilings. Not realizing when I say, yo, that's stupid. You go, are you calling me stupid? Are you insulting me? I mean, you could at least figure a different way to say it. Because I'm really offended by you not valuing it. I mean, obviously, it's made me money before, so now you're going to come in here from the outside and tell me that my idea don't work? You see how that works? It's a cold fucking game.
Can I add something? I think what happens a lot of times too in entrepreneurship is that because we're on the edge of basically playing the game on the edge, you always, there's a part of you that wants to play victim all the time. So it's always gonna say, hey, look, you built this better than A lot of people out there, it always wants to jump in there and say that, which gives you the out to stay in that stuck space. So you got to fight that part and be like, well,
100%.
I'm playing the entrepreneur game and I'm trying to grow.
Story. Once again, see how you layering stories? That's the problem. You're trapped underneath your stories, and these stories have never been challenged. And you layer them. This ain't single layer stories. Like, think about it, the money's falling out the ceiling, and I bought a car and a house, and I got this wife now. And I just put my child in a private school. And I'm winning awards. I got free tickets to the Warriors game. Now I'm even doing business with the Warriors. But yet, idea is horrible. Long term is horrible. It's destroying me. And when it finally stops working, I can't let it go because all my family's built on this. My child is going to school based upon this. My reputation in the market is based upon this. People celebrate me because of this. So if I walk in when you're at the height of bad strategy, you're like, no, I don't see why I can't triple my numbers. I see other things happening around me. Why I can't? I'd be like, well, can we challenge these ideas and beliefs? No. I know that works. I need you to go over here and help me out over here. And I promise you, this is when you get me to go, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of deep. That's a deep question. I don't know. I tell you, I'm gonna think about this. Let me get back to you. That means I don't really want to talk to this no more. I'm done. Keep going. Next slide. Woo. Okay, let's go for this. Where needs come from?
Where do needs come from? They come from your experience of the world. They come from your feelings, hunger, tiredness, loneliness, anxiety.
So pause this one. I'm gonna explain this one real quick. So there's a part. I was just reading a book a minute ago. And this person's called neuroscience. They were completely wrong. The way neuroscience works is that your body gets this emotional feeling, right? And what your brain does is it's always predicting what it thinks it needs to satisfy that feeling. In that space of prediction, it could be all kind of interpretations of what that is, based upon stories you came across or experiences you've had. That prediction is not a one-to-one. That prediction is a hypothesis of what you think you need to satisfy this feeling you have on the inside. Now, the feeling of why you have the feeling is even questionable, but also your response to your feeling is a hypothesis prediction, which means you can change that prediction and you can change the response and get different outcomes. That's a plethora of options there. You don't even tap into it because you said, usually when I'm hungry, I eat this and I'm happy, I'm good. My mother, who died of being overweight, my mother was in her 30s. She was roughly a size 1 or 2. When she died, she was a size 23. She became victim of that space there. Well, when I'm hungry or when I'm going through something, I do this. And when the doctor said change, she's like, well, I don't change. That's real for me. What can I change up here? Not this right here. This right here, you thought that's the way it is. No one's ever told you you can actually question it. And mind you, going back to beliefs, if you don't know how to express it verbally, it's untouched. Because if you bury it in the back of your mind, your desires will overrun your thinking. But when you bring it, okay, so I'm gonna brag for a second. This is a size medium hoodie. I'm bragging for a second. But you know I got to a size medium hoodie? Remember a year and a half ago, I announced to the whole class, I'm over this shit. I'm about to cut the sugar out. I'm about to drop the weight. That's why I voiced it. I didn't voice it because I was just being impulsive, emotional. I realized that if I talk to myself, sugar gonna whoop my ass. Let's say I'm gonna cut this sugar out. I'm none of you gonna just me and you. We gonna have this private conversation. Go in this back room, have a conversation. You want to cut the sugar out? Cool. Break. I come out the room. Ooh, what's that? My brain be like, sorry, bro. I was trying to fuck with you, but then she had to cook that cake, so you know what it is, right? But when you bring something and you put it out there, it's almost like you take the idea and you turn it around and start looking at it and having conversations with people, have other people input. Also, let people see you. Let people see you. So if I told you I cut out sugar and my hoodie's now 3X, y'all be like, okay, What are you eating then? Like, there's missing people. Is that what's happening with you? like, what the fuck is going on? Because if you ain't eating sugar, something's causing some. You might need to go to the doctor, right? And so I know I'm going to hell for that one. Oh, goddamn. Anyway, I'm gonna stop because I get really. I got a son got weird humor, so I can take it. I can pick up some of his weird humor. Anyway, all right. So let's jump into teaching notes. Keep going.
Okay. Okay, breathe in. Oh, shit.
Go, Obi.
Okay, I'm trying.
One second, we got a question.
Needs.
Hold on, we got a question. Go
Okay,
ahead.
great.
So I'm thinking about this, and like I don't really have the question fully formed, but I'm thinking about it in the terms of how you and Court are like swear by your regiments and your routines, and sort of like how does that not come a story that is detrimental or a story that you don't think you need?
We got
change?
to that. We got to that by pushing my stories out the way. So my routines. So if I was to buy into your suggestion that we're nowhere, right? What I'm saying is a lot of times I got to a better routine, and the reason we try to push this is because the workout is not necessarily the only value of the workout, right? Even though it does have huge benefits, huge benefits. My God, when you have more oxygen, the world changes. When I was at my larger size, I had less oxygen, access to oxygen. I mean, I would just through the day, right? Now I'm moving so much. I'm like, what is the fuck is this? I'm not tired, exhausted. I can finish one task and then rev up, and then if I have to rev up again, that's a rarity, right? So benefit. But what you don't know is that in working out, it is learning. There's two things. I said this to the guys who walked in here today. I've domesticated pain. He said, "What do you mean domesticated pain?" Pain is no longer the thing I run from. I have a relationship with it. I'm comfortable with it. I know that it has to exist. When you're working out, you see a lot of people in the gym who are working out don't have domestication with pain. You could come back 7 years from now and they're bigger. They're in less shape. They're popping pills. They haven't built that, right? Third thing, working out teaches you the rhythm of building. Building does not happen based upon highlights. Back in the days when Shakina first started her business, she used to tell me, she used to be hyped up. This just happened. And I just was dull, but I was doing it on purpose. Why was I dull? Because it's the same thing with working out. If you go to the gym and have the best workout of your life, jump on that scale. Now things change, but it's all invisible to you. And you got to learn how to move in faith. And then also while you're moving in faith, it's the coldest part. You don't get to just stick to the rhythm and expect outcome. You got to almost have a scientific tweaking and adjustment that you won't see when you're in it, and you have to calculate an outcome that you can't touch. That's just the coldest psychological game you're going to. When you're going through that workout and you're going through that process, Shakina can tell you this right now, you can go in there and work your ass off and go the opposite direction because you didn't tweak this one little small thing. Well, same thing with business and building anything. Build a house and miss that little small thing. Everything in life is interpreted by fat tails, right? And it's just a small thing that creates the impact on the big things. And so a lot of times when you're working out, you won't get that. If you don't have some type of ritual in your life to remind you of the journey you're going on and to set your expectations. So you're working at your desk every day, you typing, sending emails, you're doing this, emails, and you look at your bank, you're like, damn, this shit didn't grow at all, man. Some of us want to stop. Same thing with working out. But working out teaches you, you don't stop. You might be off something, but you're in the right direction. And the process is going to be slow. And those who get there fast don't overvalue it. Like, you need to be somebody be like, yo, this young dude, that dude with a six-pack overnight. How old is he? He's 21. Okay, I don't know why in the fuck I'm doing comparison to him. Right? And also, too, some dudes get ready for the summer, and it's over for them. Some dudes say, I'm doing this for life. It's a different form of thinking about working out. And you don't get that from theories and books. And the best way to get a building experience into your life, go train your body. Build your body, and it's the same parallel to building a business, to building a home, it's building a family. man, for those of you who don't have family, there ain't no perfection no more. There's a whole bunch of shit going on, right? And you still got to build that. You got to be able to stick through it and go through it and have those ups and downs and know that you're playing this longer game. But as soon as you like, I don't like this, I quit, going to the earlier slide, working out's the same rules. The guy who changes his workout every week because he gets bored, he finds out what Court was talking about before he ended his slides, which is, oh, I'm bored now. I don't want to do this stuff. I'm going to change. To the point they run out of stuff to do and they're no longer in the gym. Like I run the same track when I run the same track over and over. I train myself to run only the same track because to constantly change is a problem inside of me. Also, some things, injuries, when you work out, right? So the average person in corporate America, when they get hurt, oh, you know what you need? You need some Epsom salt, this vibrating machine, this oil, these. You're like, God damn, I just hurt my shoulder, right? In our world, when you hurt yourself, go train lighter, but keep training. Keep putting friction on that muscle. That principle there, that domestication with friction, makes me like, so when you meet me, you're like, now it's kind of rough around the edges, right? That's because I have built a relationship with friction. That friction, that's the personality of building, somebody who builds a relationship with friction. We don't use a lot of S's. We a little bit more, because even women, you meet strong women who are performing high in business, they're not so, because they built a relationship with friction. Meet a woman who's meet these women who train professionally, right? They got a different walk to themselves. They move. So the working out was a discovery. Now, let me tell you what Nana felt like doing. Nothing. I didn't feel like no gym. I told Shakira the other day, I say, what's so crazy? Every time I go to the gym, my brain still keeps trying to convince me not to go. I ain't been to the gym once. I ain't been for a run yet where my brain was like, you know what? You need to go do this. This is going to be good for you. Aren't you going to enjoy it? The first lap, my brain goes, you know your feet hurt today. You didn't get no sleep and shit. How you breathing? You don't be finish these 8 laps around this track because you're looking kind of strange right now. You ain't running as fast as the lady who just passed you. You're 57. You should sit down in the 57 zone because you shouldn't be doing it. My brain does the whole gamut of like sales. You know what happens in business? This shit gonna be scary. I wonder if we're gonna be qualified to do this. The same shit. And I gotta still march with that same and where I got that from? The gym. The gym. This shit is, like I said, once y'all understand what the gym does, you realize we ain't on some old buff monkey type, look at my muscles and see the camera. No, I put the camera, okay, watch this. That'd be some weird shit too. I'd be walking by sometimes like this. Like that's how the camera walk between them. But the thing is,
right.
I'm doing it for a deeper, something I have this building thing, I can't find it in many places. And the gym is my constant reminder. Like my wife said to me, she said, what's amazing about you? You're one of the first men I ever met that keeps his word. Like if he says it's going to be done, it's done. The gym taught me that principle. You can say I'm about to work out all you want, but you don't get the results until you do what the fuck you say. There's so many business principles in the gym, it's ridiculous. So I'm not in the gym for and on top of that too, okay, look, I want to die gracefully. I don't want to die quickly. I don't want to die because of neglect. If I'm going to die, it's because of some genetic disease I can control, not because my gout got me first, and then diabetes, and then as my liver didn't start acting strange, and then the cancer. That's neglect, baby. Cut it out. So, in a sense, me having that real relationship with life itself and realize that you're gonna die, and if you want to be here, you gotta make that investment. When you look at all the lessons that intersect at one nucleus, which is the gym, you realize the gym ain't about no working out by itself. That's trash. So the stories was a testing. My stories don't like none of that shit. My brain is always telling me story-wise, you shouldn't go today because it was raining, and when you rain and you 57 and you got to protect your joints, you don't get to become 62 and your joints are fucked up because you're out there running in the rain. You can get sick because it's cold outside. I have so many excuses. I I've never heard a brain lie to me so much. I'm like, who the fuck is on the same? Are we on the same team? Why do you take these? Like, and then when I finish, my brain does this. Good workout, dog. I'm so proud of you. Don't you feel good about that shit? Nah, fuck what I said earlier. Don't you feel good? My brain does this it's such a weird ass routine. I'm just like, fuck. But also too, trip on that how I'm so in tune with that liminal thinking space. I'm aware of all the conversations and stories I'm having with myself, and they're not true. I'm able to say, is that true? And I have an amazing business partner who will say that if I say some things, every once in a while, when we get in there, I may say, he'd be like, no, is that true? I'm like, fuck, no, it's not. Like, and I can't imagine how much money you guys have spent on stories that ain't true. How much money y'all cashed out. If you saw how much money y'all spent on stories that's not true, you'll see where your investment power went. Anyway, let's keep going.
That was dope.
Thanks, family.
Cultural example.
Now, okay, peep this. I personally I personally put this in there. This ain't in the book, but I did this on purpose because it's an intersection. Go for it.
If African Americans sense that their environment is unsafe
I want you to hear this is the most powerful shit ever. Go ahead.
due to systemic discrimination or racial bias,
Mm-hmm.
they may develop a need to feel protected or validated.
So that's a natural need, right? You feel like your environment is fucked up as black people, so we develop this need to feel protected or validated, right? Keep going. This is so cold. Go ahead.
Over time, these experiences can lead to collective beliefs such as, I have to work twice as hard to be seen as competent, or I need to remain guarded in certain spaces. These beliefs then shape predictable actions. How one speaks, dresses, or navigates public settings in order to stay safe, maintain credibility, or avoid negative scrutiny.
Y'all see how cold that is? So you have this feeling from society because you don't feel safe. You have a need to satisfy that safeness. It turns into actions that creates that same outcome. A long time ago, somebody told me that we're black because white people exist. If white people didn't exist, we wouldn't be using the term black. That's important. You might say, oh, how do we question that? No, I'm not questioning that. I'm saying in this space is strategy. Why do you call yourself black? Then once you play that with that, you say to yourself, well, are we in response to the larger society? Are we moving in spite of the larger society? That's a hell of a separation and strategy. So if I'm bullying you and you're constantly responding to my bullying, I'm still controlling you. Mm-hmm. The way you come outside of my control is you move in spite of my actions. That means your beliefs have to exist to say, when this is happening to me, I have choices, not the typical choice that's transferred by, remember we said earlier, most of our beliefs are reinforced by the group's belief. So the group says, when we're going through this, we need to protest. Excuse me, who are you to call the protest? How do we know the protest is going to work? What's the value offering we're asking here? How we know that we're going to get black people across the United States to participate where the impact is going to be valuable? And if we fail because we ran it poorly, will we lose our ability to actually have impact when it's important? These are conversations we're not having. And if you don't see this variable, there's a strong energy you're feeling from the society. And you're going to these typical go-to responses. Even when you run your business day to day. And you don't feel like, I got to prove I'm valuable. Some of you guys are not running business to run your business. You're running your business to prove a point that you want to show people your idea was going to work. And instead of you adjusting your idea to grow the business, you are so for example, branding, watch this. I'm going to show you how this is anti-branding. Branding is serving. So it's a marriage of your ideas and the customer's ideas that you seek to serve, right? So if the customer says, I don't like green, I don't give a fuck about the story you talk about a green product. You start to say, well, okay, I'm going to turn it orange, but when I turn it orange, I'm going to do it my way to keep it my personal gift based upon what the customer wants. So meaning like, even though the customer is saying, I want this, you're putting your swag on it. Some of you guys won't change that because that's going against your core story, because deep in your mind, you're saying, I'm trying to prove to people that I made a good idea on this product or service. I want to prove to people that I'm really good at what I'm doing. And if I change it, it's a threat to me, not about the customer. You guys see what this is? This is some cold shit when you get it. Go ahead, pass the mic. So once you get this shit, like, a lot of us are defending what we feel. Okay, if you give me, let me make it even simpler. James on my team, it's been a big joke for the year. He gave me a notepad for Kwanzaa. And as soon as he gave it to me, I said, what the fuck is this? He said, Happy Kwanzaa. I said, I know you got to be kidding. This is not, I clowned him at the party. Like there was no gap. I didn't even try to create stimulus. I'm going straight at this. Like, why you give me a motherfucking notepad? There's this thing when we give gifts, are we finding out what they want by studying their artifacts that they're wearing, their rhythms, their connections, their beliefs, their values? Or are we giving them something to impress them by what we gave them? I'm going to show them. I'm going to give this to this. I think this would be good for them. I'm going to buy them a really nice gift. This is going to impress them. Then you're doing you, which is protecting your value to them, because your value is on trial. If your value is not on trial, then you say, I'm going to get Court a gift. How does he dress usually? What kind of shoes he usually wears? What does his bag look like? How does he wear his hat? What does he talk about most of the time? Where's the places he hangs? That should give you all the clues of how you need to show up with your gift to him. So let's give the gift giving to customer products to the market. Many of us are not saying, let me look at the artifacts and the rhythm of the market I seek to serve. What you're doing is going, this is what impressed them. They're going to love these designs, nice office, nice chairs, real major functionality, all these different benefits in my tools. It can do this, that, and the other. And you're not doing business, you're doing you. And for African Americans, when we don't feel like we're good enough, you can see how they can go wild. Stay with me now.
So the cultural example that came to mind that I was thinking about is Black people have a unhealthy relationship with respect, to where it's like the belief, if they feel disrespected, then it's like all holds bars. We throw it all away. It's all to the trash. Like, how does that kind of play into the, or does
First of all, that's once again, you feel like something's unfair, whether it is or not. You feel like that. So the way you satisfy it is you feel a hunger. You interpret it as hunger. So then you have a need, which is eat, right? Which is respect. I would argue with people, whatever you're feeling, why should you not feel it? Who am I to say that you need to respect me? What have I done to be respected for? These are hard questions to ask, but if I was to walk in the room and say that shit when you feeling disrespected, watch how you escort me out that room. Oh, this motherfucker gonna get all, I ain't asked all that. Did you see what he did to me? You see what he did to me? Now we need to talk about what's happening right here. No, we need to talk about, why do you think that should even matter to you? That's the hard conversation to have. And that's where a lot of strategy, when you talk about strategical thinking, that's where a lot of strategy exists. A large portion of strategy is in between the feeling, the interpretation of what that feeling is, the need that we associate with that feeling, and then the action we take. It's hella room in there. It's so much room in there that when you learn to see that and be able to pull that apart, as opposed to just let that all exist as one point of reference in the conversation. Well, I feel like this. What do you mean you feel like this? Help me understand that. Most people, this is why I can't have like, okay, when we're on retreat, we'll have this conversation. When I'm back in public, I'm finding that when I have this conversation, it's so offensive to people, because to challenge their belief is to challenge them. And when you don't feel like you validated, that's a scary space. For Black people, if I say, I'm going to challenge your belief and you don't feel like your belief is your value, it's almost like you feel like I just called you an inward or a slave. Next slide. Now, before we get into this, read this slide. Let me pull up because where I'm looking, you might have to look behind me. That tree is a little bit too far into the picture. It's a little too artsy for me. Fluffy asses. But okay. Let's examine this circle. This is a loop, right? So this is a loop that a lot of us are into, right? Needs, how do I feel, right? Which turns into what are my options? Beliefs. Now, between the need, which is reality, there may be a real need, right? But if you see between the need to what are my options, is that space between theory that comes after experience, attention, theory, judgment, and beliefs, right? Beliefs. What will I do? Now, what will I do sits on top of, it's already locked in, like these beliefs are locked in, right? And then the results, which is the experience you're having as a human being. I'm always broke. It seems like things never work out for me. The change happens between the need and the belief of what you do with that need. If you don't adjust that, then your end results continue to be the same over and over and over. And here's a funny part. Your group that you exist in may validate your belief over and over again, not realizing the group that validates your belief helps you maintain your same outcome. So let's say you get a group of friends that are like, yo, we all believe the same thing. We have the same ideas, same views. We read the same books, watch the same movies, same skin color, same culture. I don't understand why my money can't change. You're not willing to change your beliefs. And that section right there, you almost protected that. You surround yourself, you insulated yourself with that. You got friends, you got a lifestyle, you got clothing, artifacts that you wear that says, this is what I am, this is what I believe in. And here comes Donna going, is that true? I don't like that dude. I don't like him. He don't even see us, what I've been going through. He's so fucking disrespectful. Like he just doesn't validate. And you don't realize what you asked me for is, no, I want to change my results. Look at where results happen. From belief, what will I do, action, to your results. You saying, what happened and why, right? You saying to me, no, I'm tired of these results. And I go straight to where the problem is between this is what you experience and this is what you believe you need to do. And you say, I didn't want to talk about that. What I want to talk about is that once I have my belief, what I was going to do, the action, the top hand, that's what you want me to talk about. But that is not really going to change anything because it's still anchored on the wrong beliefs. It's anchored in the wrong process. And until I change that, even if I'm able to manipulate the action and change the result this one time, you don't realize that your repetition and your rhythm is going to continue to produce the same results because you never changed your core beliefs, the process between your interpretation from I have a feeling to this is what I usually do with that feeling. And if that can't be changed, all that other shit's not an option. Fern, pass the microphone to Fern behind you.
All right, so I'm thinking about this, right? And even in reality, I don't even think sometimes reality is real. Our needs are like manufactured based on what we've already made the obvious, right? And so how would one even get into that space of changing even how you feel a need is? Because let's say it's a need of love, right? Or shit, I don't know. You have this you have this is reality out there, and then from that you interpret, oh, I need love. But what if it's not even love? What if it's
okay? Let's use that. You might say, I feel like I need love, right? I have this feeling. I feel lonely, but in that space right there, that's a lot of. You ever seen somebody who have loved ones around them but can't get that one person to love them? So I don't feel loved.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times, if we don't have conversations in that space there, even that assumption of I need love, that's an assumption space. That is not an absolute guaranteed space. It's inside your head, you've done this full rationalization of I felt this desire of loneliness. It must be because I don't have people around me who love me. Your mama's there, your dad's there, your cousin, your auntie, but I don't get that group I tried to join didn't love me. I feel rejection. But you don't know how to separate those two because your brain kind of like fuzzed that. And so then you're like, I don't feel like nobody loves me. My son did that. Right? To only go out in the real world and go, I'm going to run to the people who love me. And they're like, oh, y'all don't love me? I thought you fudged that space. And that's what I'm saying. Like, all the things we try to stand on these terms, like, you know, as somebody who cares, and now you're going to question my care? Yes, I can. I absolutely can. Right? In the early stages, that's what me and Pastor Chris used to argue about. Pastor like, I'm going to do this. I'm like, but why you have to do that? Because it's good. What do you mean it's good? What do you mean by that? It sounds like I'm being an asshole, but I'm trying to operate between I feel something, and I believe this is how I satisfy what I feel. That's a space I'm trying to get in between that space to actually empower you, to help you see all the options you have that can regain you some footing in your strategy.
So I'm a piggyback on what you just said because it made me go to is it first principle thinking where you eliminate all assumptions? You eliminate.
It's actually, so when we use first principle thinking, we've been talking about it very shallow, very shallow sense. This is the core, especially as we get further into strategy, you'll be able to see strategy very clear. But yes, this is a more advanced first principle thinking, which is you realize you're feeling it's called effective realism. It's a term they use in the way your brain sends a message. So the way effective realism says is, I'll give you an example. You ever been mad and then somebody gave you something to eat and you realize, okay, I was just hangry, right? But at the moment when you were mad, you was really mad at whatever you was mad at. And then once you ate, you was like, oh, I'm not tripping. That's that space. It happens all through your life where what you feel you upset about is distorted because you got a feeling, but you interpret it as this person in front of me getting on my fucking nerves, but really what you needed was something to eat. So this is a problem you're having all through your life, and you're in business, you're making all these horrible decisions because I felt something, I felt we wasn't making enough money, so what I usually do when we don't make enough money, I do this. That's not a thing. There's a lot of options there. That one thing is just a belief that you arrive from limited experience, serious limited attention, then building up theories, judgment, and then reaching a belief. This just code. Let's hit the putting beliefs into action. Let's go.
Scenario, you're hungry but short on cash, so you rely on past experience beliefs about where to get cheap food.
So let's say you grew up in a community where you didn't have resources coming up and something crisis happened in your life. You'll find that some of you guys who grew up really, really poor, it's hard for you to invest and move money. Like it's hard for you to spend money to make money because in the past, this is how I dealt with it. I cut these corners. Some of you guys are hustling when you don't need to be hustling. Some of you guys are spending when you should be spending because you have this, when this usually happens, I buy this. When this usually happens, I spend this. When this usually happens, I go here. I was talking to somebody the other day, I was like, I lost my credit about 25 years ago. I didn't have credit for almost 10 years. Almost 10 years. And when I finally got my credit back, I don't spend no money in credit because I found out all the things I thought I needed money for or had to go buy brand new or had to buy a certain kind of way. And as well as I also had to learn when I needed to go spend some money, when I need to go drop 25, 30, 50, $100,000 on something that I ain't never did that before. So all of my real deep down beliefs were going to underserve me. Do you understand that when you guys get into investing, that is not your natural belief system? That's a new belief system. Like what you feel and what your actions should be are so separated that if you really get into investing, right? Because, okay, let's say you investing in mutual funds, and mutual funds is a long-term 9 to 10% interest, right? Okay, what happens when you invest and the market crashes? What most people want to do, I'm done, I'm out. But what they tell you is keep investing. First of all, if it crashes, sometimes it's the best time. 2, Keep investing because it will level off over time, right? That's a hard thing for the brain to embrace, especially when you come from our communities. Go, Shamisha.
So I've been sitting here since I talked about spending, and my brain has been like, okay, I'm trying to find it. A possibility, and this is just like a muddy assumption I have over here, but investing in myself beyond a certain point makes me uncomfortable. So that's an edge. And in the last year, I have been really pushing into that.
Mm-hmm.
It would seem unrelated, but as you just said that, I was like, well, when do I spend money? When I get uncomfortable about, I've never invested this much in myself before. I would not have ever connected those two, but and I'm going to keep looking at it, but I'm like, wait a minute.
It's a dance. It's a long, and the thing is that when you finally get it and you tweak it and you test it, because it's going to be some discovery, testing, and tweak. When you finally get it, it's the most amazing shit ever. It could be something like, there could be a hidden fear there that's never been addressed because you locked it in, and that's just the way it is. Once you lock it this way, it's like, that's the way it is. It's 6 grams of dirt sitting on top of the real shit.
Yep.
And once you start saying it ain't the way it is, nothing is the way. If you said, no, I went here and I saw it for myself, I don't know what that means yet. If I'm doing strategy work, if we just talking and shooting the shit, I'll be like, oh, okay. You just saw it for yourself? Okay. Now I might even look it up whether you leave. Is that really a thing? Because I don't disagree with. But ultimately, when I'm working on strategy, I'm flipping over rocks. And some of y'all won't flip over certain rocks because you're like, those rocks not really meant to be flipped over. They just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. I never would have even thought that there could be a connection to when you have not invested in, when your investment in yourself tends to be here and you start pushing outside of that, how that can start to push other behaviors that don't seem to have anything to do with it, because you're just seeking for some sort of control in a new
it starts to compound, and that's where so now you're buried under the belief started down here, but you compounded with other beliefs on top of it. Before you know, that belief is so heavy, to pull that belief is to almost be disruptive to yourself. And so it's not as easy as just change your mind.
Right.
And that's why you have to chisel it down, and then slowly but surely. Now, it's so empowering once you get into this space. It's super empowering. And it's almost like the world starts to look different to you. You even hear conversations from people, when people say, we're about to do this. You're like, oh, they're not going to be able to do that. Because you can hear that the belief is driving the conversation, not a clean reality with strategy and the reality that's out there. They're not looking at the reality that's out there. They're understanding strategy and going, okay, and then they're just betting and gambling. I'm not challenging that. I'm challenging that when I talk about emotional reasoning, people can actually have conversations that sound like pure rational thinking. They're so charismatic. They sound so well, but there's nothing there.
Right.
There's nothing there.
Right.
And do you know how many people, how many white people gave black people money for there's nothing there?
Yes, I do.
And I could have sat with them and said, people, I hear what they're saying to you. There's nothing there yet. It's not that they can't get there. I'm not saying this black person can't get there, but sometimes we give people money so early in the stages, you validated this process, not their possibilities or capabilities. Mm-hmm. So think about all the people that got $10, $20, $30, $50, $75,000 who were so underdeveloped. What you did was you gave them, they had an action. I remember Marquita told me, she said, Nana, there's a lot of black businesses out here. They don't even do business. They just keep raising money. Because they've been told, need? I feel I need some more money. Need? Go raise some money. Results? I got money. Let's do it again. Right? But between the need and the results, and the belief of what they're going to do, that's what I would come in and talk about. And people are like, we ain't trying to hear all that shit. That's you preaching. Can you get into like what I'll do when I get this money? and how to like take the money they gave me and then double that. So when I get the more money, because I'm going to go to another seminar, but I'm already got that money working for me.
Well, and I mean, not that I need to tell you this, but we've separated the conversation of money from the conversation of growth.
That's all that shit,
And it's
all that sits in that space. So you see where I'm like,
Yeah.
like you can't even have these conversations in public because this is when people say you're getting too deep.
yeah.
This is a space where most people say, if you get in this space, oh, you too deep. I'm just trying to figure out what to do with this action at the top of this list.
And you are so much less effective with the money.
Everything. No,
Like,
everything. It ain't
you
just money. You're gonna have to say, look. You ever see some? Okay, I'm from the hood. Like I'm from like everybody was going to jail, heroin, crack, cocaine. I grew up around all that shit, right? Daddy was pimp of the year in 70. Either 73, 77. My brain's mixing the numbers, but he won pimp of the year. I got him walking down with his award with fur boots on. Winning pimp. I bring that picture one of these days because y'all think I'm bullshit. And it says winner pimp of the year for that particular. I grew up in all that shit, right? I've seen black folks try to get out the hood, and I've seen the best effort return them right back to the hood because they were stuck in this loop. Mm-hmm. I promise you this shit. And if you ever try to challenge between the feeling and the belief, nobody wanted to hear that shit. Mm-hmm. But the same results produced some of the best people I've ever met in my life, people I love to death, who could not get past, who died, not getting past that stage right there. Mm-hmm. Next slide. Oh, finish the slide.
Every time we act on a belief and see the outcome, we either reinforce the belief or question it.
So a lot of times when you act on belief, so okay, let's show you, that's a double meaning. Bad belief, outcome, reinforces a bad belief. Bad belief that didn't work the first time turns into, I ain't fucking with that belief no more. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is, next slide. Now, this is what I learned. I can't wait to teach you guys double loop and single loop, but go ahead.
The learning loop. Mm-hmm. A continuous cycle of need or hunger, thinking, formulating beliefs, action, trying out solutions, result, feedback that reinforces or changes beliefs. This is the basic way that we learn how to be effective in life. A continuous feedback cycle of needs, thinking, and action. Over time,
Here's it go. This is it right here.
these loops become habits, and habits become our reality.
Now y'all see that? Remember, you don't see reality. Your reality is every time I've done this, I got a result.
Useful.
Now that here you come and want to talk about this conversation, you keep trying to talk about this action. You don't realize because you have this formula that's untouchable, right? That's actually starting this loop every time, right? Which is needs, thinking, action. I get these results. Now it's a habit. The habit is now the way I see reality. Hey, Nana, if I want to grow a business, I know from running, you do A, B, and C. And I don't understand why this ain't working for me. It must be racism. White people should want to help me out because what they did to my ancestors. That's just the way it is. Uh-oh. And I'm saying, no, everything's questionable in that space.
Can I just grab 2 seconds? It goes back to that question that you had. Why do you guys stick to such a strict regimen? Is because we are playing with loops because we know the loops become habits and habits become reality. So we do a check on our reality to make sure that our reality is where we want it to go and grow. That's why we maintain those loops, because if we change the loop, then the reality changes. So then I'm not fucking around. We're not changing this shit.
That's hot. If you know, just real quick, let me say, remember, just double down that phrase you just said. When you change the loop, you change your reality. When you change the loop, you change. If y'all don't remember anything else from the night, if you could change that fucking loop you got, your reality starts to formulate something different. And that's when you first start to change that loop, it's gonna be kind of pop. I'm just gonna do this, and this. I'm gonna just change these two things, it's gonna be cool. And you're going to realize, just like in working out, you're going to have to find these small tweaks here and there, adjustments. And, okay, I can't eat after this hour. I can't eat this many meals. I can't. For example, you ever see somebody, they swear, I don't eat sugar, and I eat 1 meal a day, or 2 meals, or 3 meals a day. But we don't tell you about all the snacks. A little, what was that you eating? Oh, let me just taste that real quick. Oh, what's that there? That's some cookies. I'm on a diet. I'm just getting a little piece of that. You just ate 1,000 calories on just nibbles. This is called grazing. Grazing is a major reason a lot of people can't lose weight. The reason they tell you not to eat, stop eating at 7 and do that time fasting. It's not the fasting. It's the grazing. Right? But you won't see that. You won't even know that's a thing if that's not a conversation you're willing to have. And you won't even talk about it openly. You just so point like, it's just, look, Nana, we have boundaries, and you're really stepping into my boundary. Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Can you guys just touch on the way that you iterate your habits? Like, how often are you tweaking? Because I know you
every day. It's not once in a while. It's every day. I'm always, because you know what it is? I give, like Court just said it last week, I try this new diet. I give it a certain grace period. I see if it's incentivizing me to keep, but he has to give it a certain grace period, right? So I'm tweaking all the time because the speed of change, you get this core idea, you make these hard changes that can say you're going the right direction, but it doesn't mean that that it doesn't need to be calibrated, right? And so the calibration is slow. You know, you go in the right direction. And so you might say, like, for example, when I wanted to go running, okay, there's a track, there's a field, I got some tennis shoes on. Not the right type of shoes. So I had to try like different clouds. I eventually landed on Hokas, right? No, I had clouds and I had base Asics, and then I went to Hokas, right? But that's 3 pair of shoes I had to go buy, right? Now I could have went to, later on I found out through Pastor Chris, I could have went to a running camp, they could have went me through the process, right? Then I found out there's certain socks you need to wear, right? Yeah. I found there's so many, like, even the headphones, I had to get a certain kind of headphones that's good for running, right? Certain kind of glasses that don't suppress on my nose and then cause me to breathe just through my mouth, and that causes me to like be able to lose oxygen and like be winded a little bit sooner, right? Even my pattern of my posture, I had to work on my fucking posture, y'all. I didn't know posture was a thing with running. I thought you just run. You know, that's why, I didn't know that you were running. I had to learn how to run properly. What do you want to land on your ball of your foot, the heel of your foot? All this stuff, that tweaking had to happen slowly until you get to that sweet spot. And you're in that sweet spot when you try something and you go, oh, shit, this just got easier. Right? Even me doing treadmills and doing sprints on treadmills to open up my stride. So when I went back on the actual field, my stride starts to improve. Right? All these little things I'm doing, and then you'll watch through the week and you watch through your knees and tell you, hey, dog, I ain't gonna let you go down these stairs again. You keep doing that stupid shit, right? Like, you gotta let that time kind of kick in. Same thing with business. You can have a good idea, good product, good direction, but it might be certain tweaks that needs to happen in your business for you to start to see these results you're trying to yield. Next slide, because I want to get to this doom loop before we get out of here.
Beliefs cause behavior.
Now this is important. Stay with me now.
Beliefs cause behavior. That is the point of the dog story.
So both the dog, the dog said, I have a belief that you're trying to take my food away from me. Probably because the dog been through situations where people are taking the food away from him. Right? Or other dogs, like he had to fight for his food, right? The owner said, I have a belief, this is a bad dog, we need to put it down. That's a natural response, because it could have hurt my child. To only find out in the story, he ended up hiring a trainer, and the trainer says, actually, no, you can train this out. Right? So keep going. Let's get into this.
Often we see behavior without knowing the backstory or belief driving it.
There you go.
Misinterpreting behavior can lead to the wrong response and reinforce unhealthy loops.
So,
she fine, by the way.
Huh?
She fine, by the way.
Yeah, that's a beautiful sister. She might be, well, I used to look like when I was younger. Anyway, point is this. So, yeah, Stevie, don't hate on the game. Look here, I didn't start this game. It's just who I am. But let's just stay focused. Let's stay focused, y'all, because don't try to celebrate me. Listen, so the thing is that our relationship to American culture. So a lot of people come to this country, they don't have the same relationship with white people that we have. We have a traumatic relationship with them. Fair. But our interpretation of what they're doing, their interpretation of what we're doing is creating a very toxic environment for both of us. So if we do something like, oh, there they go again. And we do the same thing. When they do something, oh, there they go again. No one ever says, how do we know that's true? No one has that conversation. So let me tell you why that's important in business. Because you always say, well, no, we're going to have a pro-black class. Well, first of all, I'm pro-black, so you never will escape me. But what I'm trying to highlight is this. Have you guys people say, in business, they don't use white people just don't let this happen. Like, they call it the dude who did the original Hope, the original dude who did Hope from LA. I forgot his name. Something Hope. John Hope.
John
Hope.
Francis or something like that.
Yeah, John Hope.
Yeah.
He calls it the Beyonce effect. Did y'all see Beyonce walked into country music? Mm-hmm. She's the first black woman ever to win a country music award. That's an industry that says you're not accepted. Her beliefs didn't stop her. Many of y'all wouldn't even wrote the first fucking song. Let's keep it real. And it wouldn't have been like you would say, I can't. You would just double down on R&B or hip hop or say, this is what I'm going to do, because you don't even think about that other side because it's not an option. So you realize how many strategical doors you have closed because of this toxic intersection of false interpretation? Do you know corporations by default already have to uphold a certain amount of diversity? Do you know diversity baked in the word alone is a business opportunity that no business person, no matter what race you are, would ever argue against, because diversity amplifies your innovation, and innovation is one of the number one tools you're going to need to compete. So every company is incentivized for diversity. Do you realize that DEI wasn't that? Do you realize DEI that you saw that became popular was this internet phenomenon that had no leadership, that became so mutated because of so many multiple inputs that took it somewhere that's impossible to reach? And what corporations actually have to do is reach a diversity standard to actually exist as a business in America. Did y'all know that? Did you think anybody who started this march sat down with the leadership of the Target and said, hey, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, people? But instead, they've been marching. I've been watching these people grilled online because I've been watching, just seeing it's a hell of a story to watch it unfold. And people say, did you talk to the leadership? No, but because at the end of the day, we've always been unfairly, you see what just happened? Between the feeling and the need ain't even clear. I told somebody today, the problem with DEI, not DEI in its pure sense, DEI that's been politicized is, I don't know what the destination is. Can all human beings respect diversity, equity, and inclusion? What happens when somebody who's a weaker person or a person who's not used to the game falls into a competition and the best man is chosen and it's not them? Is that their go-to response? Like, if without DEI, without leadership, can turn into all kind of shit we never seen before. So if you're a company embracing a system that has no leadership, has no goal, no clear direction, to say, once we hit here, we good, people. That's all we're saying. Just hit here, we good. But we say, I just believe in diversity. What does that mean? Where are we going, people? So as a business, why would I embrace that? Where the standards that they have to hit as corporations, you got to have this many diverse people. They got to have this some community investment. You got to have some. There's these requirements for large companies. They don't get to just run in America and do what the fuck they want. So what I'm arguing is that I'm not arguing pro Target. What I'm arguing is we are in a toxic space where there's no communication, and the only thing that's operating is two opposite beliefs. Because they're probably thinking black people always want some shit. And there's some legitimate arguments on our side. We didn't start this shit because it was just, we standing by it, and one day you just didn't bring a sandwich, right? Like this. There's a history that says we're uncomfortable, but we're not going to have a healthy dialogue or solution-based space or safe space for us to actually be able to thrive in if we keep letting this intersection of bad beliefs. So, for example, the guy said, I think this dog is deadly. My belief is when a dog is deadly, all right, get rid of it. Send it to the pound. He didn't know there's a third person that says, no. Let me train him for 2 weeks and I can show him how to be around other dogs and share. And the dog didn't even know that's existence. But in this intersection, and here's the thing, so let's keep going because I want to show you how this thing. So okay, next slide. Keep going. This shit gets cold. Watch this. Doom loop. This is what I want to get to before we get up out of here. Let's go.
Doom loops and story webs. Doom loop example is the dog. Human believes Spitfire is a problem dog.
So I saw the human thought, yeah, this is a problem dog, right? Go ahead.
Tries to fix by punishing the dog or taking away the bones.
So he tries to say, I'm going to take away the dog. I'm going to punish this dog because he shouldn't be growling at me. Okay, black people, y'all know how we treat as children, right? All right, this is a doom loop. I want y'all to pay attention to this. Watch this.
This reinforces the dog's belief that bones must be protected.
Now the dog is for sure going to believe at the end of the day, see, this is why I'm the way I am. Because shit like this keep happening. And I'm going to have to continue to be like this because, you see, now we both in a doom loop. You're producing results to have an outcome which causes a system that we engage in to have its results. You know, this is why I have to defend myself because these crazy ass these customers don't realize you're creating a space that creates the outcome to constantly happen because you can redesign the space. But say you redesign the space and changing your framing of the customers you're engaging in, you're perpetuating what you're experiencing, and your reaction drives and justifies it because the outcome is now the person who interacted with you is now saying, that's why I don't fuck with black businesses. And you see how now we're in this doom loop. This happens in your personal life, relationships, everything. Doom loops is when men do this because of this. And when you did this to a man, the man goes, oh, because since she doing this, I do this. And you go, see, this is why I can't trust these motherfuckers. That's why I told you. Now you're in a doom loop and you repeat it over and over again and you think men ain't shit. Some of y'all might say black men ain't shit. But you don't realize between your feeling, and your need and your belief, what happened is you created this story in your head that because you get results, and the results is I protected myself, I got my money, he didn't take my money, he didn't kick me out of my apartment, I saw my mother get abused, I didn't get abused like her, so my ideas are working.
Good. This is great.
And then men are watching going, this is why I don't fuck with her. This chick is crazy. She got all these rules and restrictions and da-da-da-da-da-da. And guess what? We're in a doom loop. And he's developing a negative perception of women. You develop a negative perception of men, and we're doing this horrible loop. And so guess what? And this is what's so fucked up. Y'all turn on YouTube and watch doom loops all day long and be like, see. Either one is true. And even though it's a popular culture because it's become popular because people who are doom loops, that's what you guys are watching. Algorithms realize you're in a doom loop. I'm going to send you doom loop shit. A lot of times, I have problems with my employees. No, you don't. You have a problem with yourself. And because your action, your employee responds to you, and you, I'll show you. I don't trust my employees. So I restricted this. I created this environment. I made it really strict and really structured. I gave them all the rules. An employee feels like this shit is so policing to me that what makes me feel good, to make me feel free, is make me steal some shit. So then you find out they steal and you're like, see, this is why I double down and this is why I'm really strict because I caught John stealing from me and I always go through this shit. And then John be like, that's why I stole some shit because he's crazy as fuck. And if I get another environment, you see the doom loop? But you created it. Not John, you created it. This is why you have a salesperson and be like, I always have problems with this sales. And then you want to go try. This is why radical responsibility is so important because without radical responsibility, this is not even approachable. But even when you approach it, you still only in the action spaces where you could have did this different and they could have did that different. And if you would have did this, as opposed to like, what was your attitude when you walked in there? What was the premise of your thoughts? What did you believe in when you got there? What's that got to do with it? It has everything to do with it because the outcome is never one-to-one. It's one-to-many. One-to-many possibilities could have happened, but it's because you went in there with your belief system, you almost primed the experience to happen this way time and time and time again, which validates people's perception of you and validates your perception of them. Keep going.
Both parties keep reinforcing each other's negative beliefs. When two or more people's learning loops reinforce fear, mistrust, or conflict, they create a self-perpetuating doom loop.
Conflict. y'all know conflict, the doom loops in our community is real. It's like once somebody pisses you off one time, you just waiting for it to happen again because you believe that's that kind of person that's gonna piss you off, and you can't get outside your belief, and you'll just watch that relationship, that family. Black people, y'all watch our families deteriorate like I've never seen. How many Mormon churches are there in Oakland? Mormon churches.
I don't know.
But one or two? One, maybe?
Temple is the only one I know of.
I only know the temple.
I only know one. Yeah, that.
How many Jewish churches are there in Oakland? Josh, where you at?
I've seen a couple of them.
Okay, you're pseudo Jew. Okay, I need some real Jews to chime in online. Tell Shabish how many.
Two I know of.
Just two.
One off of Broadway and one off of 88.
Okay. How many Scientologies are there in Oakland? Huh? There's 3 Scientologies? Synagogues.
3 Jewish synagogues.
There are three Jewish synagogues? Okay, 3 Jewish synagogues. How many black churches are there in the Bay Area? Oakland.
Hello.
Hey!
1 million.
Hey!
1 million.
Doom loops, baby.
Liquor stores.
Doom loops is so easy. Have you watched how hard, okay, black men in this room, how hard it is for us to collaborate? And it's not the outcome or the profit. It happens between how I feel about some shit. And then when I feel this is how I respond to it, and this is my outcome. And then I take these actions, I get these results. We're destroying our families with this situation. We can't build shit almost no more. We're not having problems building business. We having problems building relationships. Mm-hmm. Because doom loops is a space where you got to be able to talk in that space to get to some resolutions. Like, here's a simple thing: we ain't all supposed to be the same. So stop trying to copy and paste us. If I'm the leader of the family, I got to be able to hold our differences and still find a through line to keep us together as a family. Mm-hmm. A doom loop is when you say you're not like me, and what I feel when you do this, what it means to me. Mm-hmm. I feel some kind of way when you do something. This got me fucked. You got me fucked up. Mm-hmm. That's the story between I felt some energy, which is debatable. This is what it usually means to me. That space right there needs to be all challenged. Mm-hmm. Now the actions are on some other shit. Mm-hmm. Scott, you gonna say something?
Sally looked it up. 240 churches in East Oakland.
240 black churches in East Oakland? East Oakland?
No, just in Oakland.
Oh,
Oakland. Okay, 240 churches in Oakland.
East Oakland, Lord.
So
have
240 black churches in Oakland. I mean, how many guys y'all want? Anyway, go ahead, Fern. Because I wanted to show that I've been noticing something about black folks. We clip the fuck out of relationships. Like, the Mormon temple is strong because it's a lot of history behind that. But when you have a lot of churches and only so many population, it weakens the power structure, right? Like, let's say if Pastor Chris had 4 of the ministers, they all broke off and took a portion of the congregation. You gotta have a limited number. And if the district can become stronger, like Pastor Chris has the most giving heart I've ever seen. And he's very organized. So he'll figure, like, if more money comes in, he's gonna build systems to impact people's lives. But if all the money's split out everywhere and everybody's doing something different, and then we're undermining the impact of the system. I'm not arguing that I don't have an answer for this one. I'm trying to show a correlation, not causation. That, hey, at the end of the day, it's so easy to fall in these doom loops. I can promise you doom loops are in this space. I can promise that point, right? It's this thing where I had a conflict and I had my interpretation of what it meant to me. We didn't talk it out. We don't even have each understanding of each other's belief systems. I just feel like you disrespected me. Disrespected me means I don't really give a fuck why you did it. I just don't like the way it felt. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. So she just admitted that's a problem. And whereas opposed to like, hey, why'd you do that, by the way? Right? And somebody, well, I was raised this way. Yeah, but Is that the only outcome and response? And a lot of times that simple question changes the whole conversation. No, that's the way I've always run because that's all I ever knew. But some of you think like because we got a driver's license, say we're 21 or older, we think that we got a block of God. I mean that whatever we believe is God's way. That's the problem. None of it's just God's way. It's our interpretation of God's way. Here, one more slide after this one, and then we'll go. Yeah.
Turning a doom loop into a delight loop.
Mm-hmm.
Positive reinforcement example. The owner gives the dog treats whenever another dog appears.
So y'all know what this is real quick. Keep going.
The dog's new belief. Another dog equals treats. Good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, now it's a delight loop, a self-reinforcing pattern of positive belief and behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Changing beliefs can shift an entire system from negative to positive.
So remember I taught the first week or second week, reframing, right? When you get into that space between the feeling and the response, and you can start moving that stuff around, you could turn something that feels negative to something positive. I make it simple for you. Have you ever been in a situation where you were mad because somebody was late, and then when they ride, you realize, you found out they were in a hospital, right? Just changing a lot of times, your brain will say, when I expect this, they should do this. Cognitive distortion, right? And because you say, when I feel this, they should do this, and they don't do it, you're upset. You never get room with, when I feel this, well, first of all, why do I feel this? And should they do it this way? You're saying that they have no other fucking choices? No other fucking motivations? That my reality is God's reality and everything lives through me? No. But once you're able to think beyond the ego, which says, I see and as I think thou it should be. That's how you move around. I see, I think for that sake, or whatever the word I'm trying to use, it should be. It shall be. Right? The reality is that no, it doesn't work like that. The reality is that because everybody in this room have different backgrounds, different motivations, and different interpretations of their experiences, the diversity in this room is so big that when things happen, it should lead to questions. So when Kasha said, go back to what I said, hey, y'all, I've been working on for 2 days a week, and it ain't did shit for me, and I don't even know why I'm even doing this anymore. And some of y'all got defensive. Doom loop. What you defensive for? Doom loop. There's nothing here. I heard what she said, but there's nothing here. Your belief responded to her belief, and now y'all like, she tripping. She don't know what she needs to go and enjoy, stick with that shit. She wants to give her life the way she. There's nothing here. She stated some words, she had a distortion. She spoke on it. You developed a distortion. Now you guys now let's say later on you like, I don't really fuck with Kaja because she don't work out. Oh my God, how did we get here? How the fuck did you get here? Mm-hmm. She ain't that disciplined. That's why I can't trust her with it. Like she talking about, can I invest in her? Well, she don't even work out, so I don't even know if I trust her like that. Oh my God, this is so layered. How the fuck are we having this conversation? Mm-hmm. Now imagine you moving in business and you're the lead decision maker and you don't see these doom loops happening. Mm-hmm. You don't even see the process happening. And you swear to God, you're strategical. This shit is powerful. I'm gonna stop here because I'll continue a little bit of this. I think I'll continue a little bit of it and I'm gonna speed through it, but I'm gonna get into the science of defensive thinking so you guys can see it. Because defensive thinking, when you guys learn to just see it, I ain't talking about like learn it, but when you can smell it, you can realize. I was having a conversation with Josh earlier today. Man, he was so defensive. So defensive. He didn't know but here's the thing. If you ask him, if I didn't say this, you say, hey, when you and I was talking earlier, were you defensive? He'd be like, no, I wasn't defensive. I was totally open to it. No, he wasn't. Now, later on, he got there. But that by default, defensiveness is if I say, hey, Court, I brought that jacket last time, and the material didn't feel right to me. Well, how did you wear it? Or or have you ever had that material before? Because you might not know anything about that material. But that's defensive. If he says, tell me more. What do you want it to feel like? What were you associating with? Right? Now, let's just later on, I was like, I ain't never had a jacket like that before. I just thought it should feel like fur. Okay. No, and maybe, for you, we haven't had that experience with customers before. And if I start to sense that, I will keep that in mind because maybe I need to communicate that this material is not fur. Mm-hmm. Maybe it looks like fur. I got to explore that because maybe the material looks like fur and people buy it online and get it home and be like, no, this is
Terry cloth.
Yeah, whatever, something, some way of manipulating polyester, right? But if he's instantly defensive, he's not gained that clue. And my insight may provide him where his online communication and customer experience is such a gap. Because he said, but, well, maybe you didn't. Did you read? And in the end, so Actively Black, I buy their hoodies, right? So Shakira puts in her age, her weight, her height. It says, oh yeah, order you a extra large pants, or was it large pants? Large top and extra large pants. I said, damn, that must be made by some Italians or some shit, some really small shit, right? Shit comes in too big for me. This on their website, right? So she sends it back and goes, all right, let me get a medium top and large pants. Comes in too big again. That means that company is ignoring a feedback loop. They're not tuned in. Is it defensive? I would say 7 times out of 10, that's what it is. Sometimes it just be distraction, right? But you'll be surprised how defensive shuts down micro information that can have huge, going back to that workout concept, right? Working out small tweaks, right? A lot of times we're defensive, we're blocking small dialogue because I want to get to the, are you saying I'm good or not? Are you saying I'm working hard or not? Are you saying I'm valuable or not? You like my product or not? Right? I like your product, but when I put my hands in the pocket, the material didn't feel right. That's the difference between buying this product and that product. That's it. In order for you to get that kind of feedback, you can't go into instant, well, but or I had people do this I went to your gym and worked out. I didn't get to work out. Well, it depends on how you're showing up to the gym. And at the gym, I do have this. And last week I had that. And last week I did this. But no, you I did not did this. That's all defensive. So we're going to get into the defensive concept, the class after we do our break. And you're going to see how, and I'm going to try to get into some offensive approaches to show you how offensive is a business event. Totally dump defense. Defense becomes an offensive tool, not defense in itself. Because in the end, there's one thing about business is you're not trying to protect the fort, you're trying to move it forward. If you always try to protect, that's a problem. If you're my competition, I ain't gonna defend myself against you. I'm gonna outrun you. And once I start realizing I can't, when the day I realize I can't outrun you, I'm gonna sell it and move the fuck on. Right? But what I shouldn't do is go, well, I had this first. I had this first. Now, what the fuck is that? What is this that I had first? You realize this is all changing? All the young people love me today. Or last week they did. You get into youthful market, Corey tell you, they squirrel. But it'd be like, yeah, in 2010 I made this shit. They love me for this shit. They'd be like, damn, OG, that's what you're putting out there now? that's how the world works. So if you're not outrunning them and constantly updating your analysis, once again, the fastest way to lose your business is you learn slow. If you're not learning aggressively and updating yourself and having those deeper conversations to be able to change what's necessary to change and improve your decision making, which is all the shit we learned tonight, then a lot of your outcomes is tied to, I have this feeling, this is what I usually do. This is what everybody does. And this is the actions I usually take. I don't understand why I'm not successful. Have a good night, y'all. Done.